Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 192. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor's here too.
Yeah, I'm still here.
This is DC Comics Podcast. Every week we talk about DC Comics. Coming up on this week's show, we'll be talking about Justice League issue 39, the end of Scott Snyder's run. We'll be talking about Action Comics 1019, The Flash 87, Justice League Dark 19, Suicide Squad issue 2, Dial H for Hero number 11, and we got a couple of Patreon pick books to do as well, Red to Delta 40 and American Vampire issue 3. So that's what's coming up in terms of books. Plus, because it is a later week in terms of the number, we do have some questions from you guys from Twitter and emails to look through, a little bit of news as well. So should be a light breezy show with shenanigans and tangents and all the other things. That said though, we did have the 25-minute serious politics talk before we started recording, not to bog down the mood of the show.
No, get it out of the system, you know.
So yeah, that's out, it's done, we could do it, and we can get on with the fun stuff.
So screwed. That's all.
Yes, wasn't the most optimistic of chats, admittedly. So yeah, that's what we've got coming up today. Let's talk about quick bit of news. I suppose we'll start off with before we get to anything else. Got a delay here. The 100-page spectacular, the Robin 80th anniversary special, has been pushed back by 1 week. From March 11th to March 18th, which I think is a good thing. I think March 11th was a busier week than the 18th, but yeah,
there's a reason for this that I'm pretty sure of, and it's in relation to another delay, and that is the Flash 750 has been pushed from the 26th of February to the 4th of March. So they didn't want them back-to-back weeks, I don't think.
Okay, that makes some sense.
Fair enough.
Makes some sense. All right. I actually think that's good for Flash as well, because that was on a week 4, which has been our busiest week for a while. So that's actually also good.
Yeah.
So
a little bit weird now that they've got that they're not having one in February and then 2 in March.
Well, they're having 2 in April, so I mean, why not?
Sure.
The bastards. So okay, there you go. So the next 2 big 100-page specials, whatever they end up being, are both pushed back a week. So there you go. That's basically it. Unless you had anything else, Connor. But
I had a couple of bits actually.
I'll go on then.
A couple of solicit changes. So Batgirl 44, which is the next one for the end of February, is now part 2 of that story that we read last time officially. Originally, it was actually meant to be a City of Bane aftermath thing, which they've just scrapped apparently. This is the one that had the really cool cover, with the buildings spelling out Gotham.
Where's my Larry David gif of him looking really sort of indecisive, but and like a sort of, because I didn't like that last issue, but I don't really want a City of Bane follow up either. So I guess I'm breaking even with this news.
Yeah, the further we get from City of Bane and you're the villain, the happier I'm gonna be. So that's fine.
Oh, I've got thoughts on You're the Villain later.
We'll get there.
We've got thoughts.
Another solicit change is Wonder Woman 752 was originally going to be an Event Leviathan Fallout, and now it's not anymore. Now it's just a regular Wonder Woman issue. I
mean, I guess we should be happy they're doing less, dragging these issues into these other ongoing things. Look,
I love when there's a big actual event and there's tie-ins to it. It creates a bigger world, like for Infinite Crisis or Final Crisis, right? But you don't need to read all of them for the story to make sense. These last couple just felt like they were tying in for the sake of it.
Well, they weren't even events. They were stories. They were just things in one book that somehow get treated like an event by having tie-ins, and it was very intrusive. And more on that later. So. Yeah, that's basically it for news.
I have one more thing that is interesting.
Jeez.
No, this one's interesting because it's something that we've talked about in the past that they should be doing, and DC are finally doing it. They're going to advertise comics in the cinema with the new, Birds of Prey movie. So they've teamed up with They've teamed up with Regal, and they've got like a 15-second trailer for Harley Quinn Breaking Glass. The new, I think it's the young adult one. And it's in front of a whole bunch of movies that are in the cinema now and over the next month or so.
Presumably including Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Or Birds of Prey, the emancipation of fantabulous Harley Quinn bollocks, whatever it's called.
There's a full list of movies that'll feature it. I'm not going to read it all out because it's like 25, 30 movies.
I have to admit, I was kind of hoping when you said it's something we were hoping for. I was hoping you were going to say they were going to start doing recap pages. That's what my heart was looking for.
I'm sorry, but this is something that in general we've talked about in the past, and it's something that they should be doing.
This is good. This is good.
They're actually going slightly further. They're being given Regal are being given 75,000 copies of a Birds of Prey special edition reprint of the Harley Quinn issue 1 from 2016. Yeah, I know, but they're just giving them away for free with the ticket as a way of just, hey, you come into the movie, here's a comic. And I think that's a smart thing. Say what you want. Yes, I know it's okay. This is pointing more towards it being a Harley Quinn movie, and yes, it is. I'm okay with that. But the idea of, hey, they're here, they're interested in the movie, just slap a comic in their hand, maybe they'll read it, and maybe they'll look for more. That's not a terrible idea.
I don't think if you want to get someone to comics, you hand them Harley Quinn Rebirth. It's a way to get them to want to read more comics.
However, it's a good...
I disagree with that entirely. I think that the people who enjoy that movie, by the sounds of it, will enjoy that take on Harley Quinn a lot. And
even if it'll get them go, oh hey, where's this place I can get more of these, and it'll head them to the shop. That's good.
One of the things that I've always said, and this is something when I went to the theater in the city, the actual comic shop was like right around the corner from the theater, and I always thought it was weird that when comic movies came out, they didn't I don't know, maybe the comic shop would make an agreement with the theater to hand out some leaflets or do some sort of offer or something. I don't know, so something to get them to go around the corner at the comic shop after they've seen the movie.
But this is a national level deal with a pretty big chain. This can only be a good thing, surely. And I know Pete and Matt really doesn't like that Harley Quinn or that issue, but that's not the point. The point is,
it wasn't. My laugh came from Pete's rage, knowing him going to the movie that he doesn't want to say. Let's say he goes, I don't know if you guys have Regal over there. It's my home theater over here. And someone giving it to him, and him just throwing a fit and going, "This isn't Birds of Prey." But no, I'm fine.
They've given it a new cover. It does still say Harley Quinn on it, but it's got some of the, it's got the other movie characters just on the cover. It's a Joel Jones cover, so it looks nice.
If I go to the theater and they hand me a Harley Quinn, Connor and Palmiotti issue, I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Don't be a dick and give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Stick it in a charity shop.
I'll be like, thank you for the toilet paper, and then I'll walk off.
It's in Parks and Rec where Ron eats the vegan bacon, but he doesn't. He just throws it in the trash. He goes, delicious. May I have more, please? And that's just Pete taking them and throwing them in the trash.
I'll take the whole stack.
There's also something here that I think it's Landmark Cinemas in Canada. If you buy a ticket with them between now and February 9th, so up till opening weekend, basically, you will get a code for a for a Comixology version.
Yeah.
Of the
so
comic.
Depending on what theater you went to, if you bought through Fandango, you would get I forget which one it was, but usually Marvel movies, they'd send you a download code for a free comic. And you go to the site, download, read it. It wasn't anything like through Comixology or whatever, but it was a free. So them printing it out though, or giving this direct code, cuts out a middleman. So that's good. I think that's a good idea.
Do you know what they could do? This is not for new people. This is more for us. And we don't need this, right? I'm just throwing this out there for the fun of getting it, because obviously we are locked in already. We don't, we don't need to get us to buy comics. We're already doing it. But do you know that Comixology always do like a sale related to the movie that's out? Like, right now, it's not a movie, but right now there's a Wonder Woman sale on Comixology because of Wonder Woman 750.
There'll be a Birds of Prey one next week.
There'll be a Birds of Prey, probably Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn, if I was to guess, honestly. You'll probably get both of them. Like, what would be really cool for all of us is if, let's say they do the same thing there, we get a code, but what the code gives you is not a specific book. It's like, well, anything from the sale list, you can take one thing, kind of thing. That could be a cool little gift to us.
Limited to a single issue. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I get that. I think in this context, though, it works in the sense of, hey, here's an issue. You might like it because you like this movie, presumably.
I'm not saying I need that. I'm just throwing out an idea, something fun.
They mention it'll have like ads for recent comics as well as things from the backlist that might be of interest. As suggestions. Hey, if you like this comic, here are other things that you might want to check out. Honestly, I think this is a great idea.
Because I often end up getting stuff from the sales, not all of them, but like when there's a sale on for a specific character, I usually take the opportunity to, get a trade or two that I've not gotten around to.
I do hope this continues though. Like when the Wonder Woman movie comes out later in the year, let's give them a Wonder Woman issue 1 of some sort.
Oh, give them
Rucker's
the year 1. The first issue of that. Give them that.
Sure. Do that and do the same thing. Give it a new cover with whoever you want, and I cannot see a problem with this. They have to. It depends how much it's costing them to print all the things and give them away. But if it gets in some fans, even a small percentage, long term, the recoup costs are well positive.
This is going further out there, but I'm just. But what if they actually sold a couple of not like a lot of trades. I'm not saying turn cinema like chains into comic shops, but like how like, you go into like a GameStop and there'll be like a small rack of like trades and stuff like that. What if like literally you went to see Wonder Woman 84 and there was a couple of Wonder Woman trades for sale just there at the counter, and you could just go up and buy one?
Funny you say that. When midnight movies, when the new Marvel film came out or whatever, was still a big thing. There was a local shop that did that.
Oh, that's cool.
Although the dude behind the table was a right prick, and if you stood in front of his table, you're getting in the way of his business. And I was like,
yeah, I think that's more like local stores should go and approach a cinema and be like, hey, look, can I set up a stall for the evening, or just on opening day, just in the corner. We won't get in the way, and
they can always give them something in return. Like, I mean, maybe at the comic shop they'll do something for the theater. I don't know what it would be, some advertising or something.
Well, I know my theater drops off free passes to certain movies. Like that's how I got to see Jurassic Park and when it was released in 3D, I got to go to an advanced screening of that in IMAX. So it was through my comic shop. So there's that relationship there. But this always stuff's worked on me before. Like after I saw Ant-Man, I went to my comic shop and bought the Nick Spencer trade.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm just.
So yeah,
I just
so
like
if it was out in the table for that first weekend.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like some of the basics. If it was Wonder Woman year 1, maybe a couple other big notable stories, and just have it sitting there. Maybe Volume 1 by Greg Rucka. Just a few of the sort of starting places you could jump onto. Then new people could go, hey, you know what, I will. And if there's someone there from a comic shop actually there to actually recommend and sort of like help you pick something, then great. But just. It's in that way that Dark Knight, like Batman Year 1, Killing Joke, and Watchmen are always in every comic book like sort of rack in places that don't typically sell comic books. It's always those trades that are there on the shelf. And if there's a Marvel book, it'll be Civil War or something like that.
And you guys,
that cross promotion is something that they really need to get better in industry-wide comics.
Yeah.
With the popularity that these movies have. While they have this popularity, because there is an inevitable bust at some point.
Yeah,
I think they should market it in a way that it would appeal to me. It's like you just be honest about it. Say, hey, do you want to feel superior to everyone else who sees the movie? Do you want to feel like you're in the know and you can, lodge your intelligence and knowledge over the others?
Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do that at Joker?
I don't know how it worked.
I was gonna say, the Game of Thrones readers. God, I remember when the Red Wedding happened and they were like, oh, you don't even know. I was like, all right, you guys read a book. Good for you. I don't care. So then when the show got past the book part, that's where I'd go, we're all on the same level now.
I just use pitches like, hey, you can be in the know. You can be one of the elite, the exclusive, that know.
You know what, though? I wish they did do that on Joker, and that would cut down on the people that think it's a deep, meaningful movie and not just a remake of Scorsese films. So that'd be nice.
Spicy hot takes.
Yeah.
We're out in our top 10s of 2019 till March, but I've got a funny feeling Joker's not going to be on that. So.
I don't think it's going to be on any of ours, let's be honest.
Nah, it's not.
No.
Not even close.
I'm terrified to watch any more movies now from 2019 because I love everything in my top 10, and I'm like, I don't want anything to knock anything out. Even though the logic is, well, if it's better, it should be there, but they all should be there.
I'm not there yet. I've got a really good top 5 now, but I really wanted...
I mean, I wasn't there until like this past month. 9 out of my top 10.
Yeah, you watched Yeah, because you watched 45 movies in January, bro.
Yeah, I watched a lot.
46 when you count Uncut Gems.
No, that was 45.
Okay, that was the 45th.
Well, I'll be watching that soon because we're going to review it. We're also going to review The Farewell, so there's a couple that I want to get to that we're doing soon. But
Oh yeah, it's. But yeah, it's what it is. That movie angers me just because the amount of love it's getting, and it's a mediocre film at best.
I'm trying to see where I have it on my list at the minute. It's not high. It's around 40.
Out of what?
Under 80. I'm somewhere in the 70s. 77. So it's 40 out of 77.
Even I've not seen 80 movies from 2018 yet.
Yeah, well, I watched 44 of them in January.
That's probably why.
I told Ash how many movies you've been watching. She goes, "Did he get hurt at work and he can't work? What's going on?" Yeah, so that's not normal, Connor.
No way.
What am I at? I'm just curious what I'm at for 2019.
He's annoyed that I'm ahead of him now.
I'm at 67.
Yeah, but how many of them are shitty horror films at the bottom?
Doesn't matter. It's still a lot.
Yeah, it's still a lot. I've got some movies that... My bottom movie on this isn't even a horror movie, so shut you...
Is it Joker?
Mine isn't either, actually.
It's not Joker.
Wait, what's your bottom movie?
Oh, you've not seen this. This is the Fred Durst directed film, The Fanatic, starring John Travolta.
Yeah, well... That's where it belongs, though.
If you wanted to see a 60-year-old John Travolta pretend to be a mentally challenged nerd, it's the movie for you.
I kind of do now.
Oh dear.
What's it say about me that Amazon Prime keeps recommending that to me? What does that say about me? Under the movies you might enjoy.
You might be interested in this. But I will say this about The Fanatic, is that it has the most egregious, self-egotistical product placement I've ever seen. Because, as I said, Fred Durst directed this movie, right?
Is it a red Yankees cap?
No, there's a scene in this movie where Limp Bizkit starts playing on the radio, and the dad says, "Oh man, Limp Bizkit, this is jamming." Yeah, you're a fan of the Limp, son? You a fan of the Limp?
Ouch.
The Biscuit?
Ouch.
I had forgotten Limp Bizkit existed.
It was so cringeworthy. Hey, look.
I want to go back to forgetting they exist.
Hey, you know what? They were big when I was just the right age to actually like some of their songs. Not a lot of them, but some of them.
They don't have... Alright, I don't say they don't have terrible songs. They have very terrible songs. There are some songs of theirs that are fine.
Yes, they've got a few good... I mean, their Mission Impossible song's pretty jamming. Let's be honest.
It is. It fits that. It's definitely 2002 in music.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Mission Impossible 2 is a terrible movie, but that Biscuit song's not bad.
Shoot, that was 99, wasn't it?
Terrible in music.
Nah.
Well, no.
I would say...
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible 2 was 2000. 2001-ish.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Also, that Metallica song rips on that album as well.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. So no. Yes. So 67 movies. I do have a list of stuff that I want to get to before we get even close to top 10s.
I don't have mine counted, but I watched 4 in January.
Yeah, but at least one of them was a fantastic film.
Yeah. And one of them was The Art of Self-Defense, and I'm mad that I spent time on that.
That is such a not Matt film.
No.
And I like it, but I'm watching this going, yeah, Matt hates this movie.
It is worth mentioning, I said I'm happy with my top 5 now. 4 of my top 5 I watched in January, just to sort of point out just how bad my top 10 was before this month. Yeah. So, yeah, there you go.
I got my Kong spot resolved, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I really want to know what it is. Have I seen it?
I don't know.
Have I seen it?
Yes, Pete's definitely seen it.
Okay, all right. All right.
So I think it's gonna be like a boomerang once I say it, and you're gonna go, "Oh, we should have this figured out from the beginning."
I've got a guess, but I don't want to guess out loud. I want to kind of hold it and see if I'm right when the time comes.
Yeah, we'll be doing this in early March.
Yeah.
Which means there's 3 that I really need to watch before that time. So I'm glad I have this time.
What are the 3? What are the 3 you're trying to get to?
Parasite, Under the Silver Lake, and Ad Astra. And they're all over 2 hours, which...
Is Under the Silver Lake 2019?
Oh yeah, you said it counted.
Did I? Okay, if I said it counted, I'll stand by it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I thought it was 2018.
I think it technically is, but I've grown softer when it comes to like movies not really becoming available to everyone until.
If that's the case, 2 hours and 26 minutes of it can wait, Pete. I got a feeling.
You should watch Parasite.
Parasite, absolutely. Yeah.
I was gonna watch it last night, but it was hockey, catch up on the AEW, or Parasite, and the sports went out. So I'll get to it now that I know we have until March.
Yeah, and Parasite's. I mean, it's a little over 2 hours, but it's not like super long. It's not.
No, that's
like
what I mean.
2 hours and 5 or something like that. Isn't it?
And same with Ad Astra. It's about 2 hours and 2. There's a couple others, but if I don't get to them, it's fine.
Yeah. I just want to make my top 10 better, so I've got a bunch that I want to get to. Connor knows a few of them because we're going to do a couple of them as influxes.
Yeah, my problem with my top 10 is they're all very mainstream, and that's not typically. I have 1 or 2 small.
What year is it? I'm genuinely asking because it's the case every year.
I have some things that are mainstream, some that are like I don't think I'm spoiling to say Parasite's in my top 10. Given if you watched our review, it's pretty clear I loved it. Is that like it's mainstream in film circles? I guess.
Yeah, I would call that mainstream because what Matt's saying is he's got like Marvel movies and he's got like other shit like that.
I've got a couple of things that fall into that kind of.
Let me see what last year was, so I can just check. Where's my list from last year?
Letterboxd today is all black and white because of the black and white release of Parasite, and I don't like it. It's just I'm used to the colors. I'm used to my green and my black, and I don't know. It's just throwing me off looking at it.
It's a bit odd. I did watch a lot of movies this month, but they weren't all new 2019 movies. There was a lot of those, but.
So while mine were all kind of bigger movies, there were still some in last year that were smaller, like A Simple Favor, and that surf documentary I threw in there as a gimmick.
As a gimmick.
Won't be doing that again.
So I watched a bunch of 70s sci-fi this month because Criterion had like a thing on, like a month themed on. And I'm going to warn you now, I watched a movie called No Blade of Grass, and it's like a post-apocalyptic thing, climate change and pollution's kind of wrecked everything. So it's kind of the start of a post-apocalyptic sort of period, right? That's family traveling, right? The movie's just okay. It's definitely got some. I mean, there's definitely some themes that were consistent in the 70s. I'll tell you that, having watched a bunch of these back to back. But I will say this: I wish I knew something before I watched this. That movie has actual footage of a childbirth in it, and I did not know it was happening. It was a really pointless flashback scene as well. It didn't need to be there, and it cut to just a shot of like, oh my god, is that actually a head coming out of a vagina? And it was. And I assumed it was a prosthetic. I assumed they'd done something to do this as an effect, and found out after the fact that the director went to hospital and basically paid a couple to film the real birth, the real childbirth.
Oh boy!
Hey, if in doubt, just go and do the real thing.
Yeah. It's so unnecessary. It's not even a movie about that. It's just.
He's clearly never seen that before.
Well, no, that's every time.
Actual child? But no, I've not seen actual childbirth from that angle before.
A colleague of mine decided to show us all her C-section a few weeks ago. Just because she's got a video of it, and we were just like, okay.
Why? Why would you watch that?
Look at this. No, thank you. Yeah.
Look, I
don't know, man. That scene from Knocked Up where Jay Baruchel goes in there to help, and he walks out and goes, "Shouldn't have gone in there, man." That's
I'm just saying, if you're in the room, you stay above the pelvis, right? You stay in that side of the bed. Only the doctor needs to see that part.
No way, we're getting Dutch angles on this. Anyways, we're going to talk comics, not live childbirth.
Yes, we're not, but it's just the
70s. Yeah, the 70s is just a weird time for films because one of the shows I listened to, there was a movie set out in Australia. I forget the name of it, and the guy that directed it is a vegan, and he went out with kangaroo hunters and filmed how they actually do it, and it's very visceral. I don't think you get away with that nowadays. Like live childbirth.
Yeah.
Presumably he wasn't called a vegan at the time though, because vegan like is a word I don't think existed.
Oh no, he was on the vanguard, I guess, from this guy. Yeah. And it wasn't the diet base; it was the let's treat animals as equals base of veganism.
Oh sure.
I'm sure it wasn't vegan. I'm sure it was called like vegetarian plus or whatever.
Yeah.
But still.
That's what they called veganism before we had a word for it. It was vegetarian like gold. It was like where you get a subscription to something and platinum. You've got the platinum version. That's what veganism
vegetarian
was.
Pro.
But yeah, so it was from what the guy was saying. It was really brutal. He'll never not forget that film for that reason. So, but yeah, the 70s. Crazy times.
Yeah, they love to show their bush. That's all I'm saying. There was a lot of bush in the 70s. All right. So we should move on to some questions, shouldn't we? We should do some questions. So we got some on Twitter, got a few emails. The emails are actually all from the same person, believe it or not. So I think we'll start there. Well, this is like he sent a new one this week when I asked for some, but there was actually a couple that it just sent randomly over the last few weeks that I just saved up for. When we need some questions. Yeah. So this is from Emil. Firstly, I want to say sorry to Matt. This question might not be for him, haha. But if you could turn any comic book character and storyline into a video game, which would it be? I personally thinking an action-adventure exploration game, sort of like Uncharted, with Hawkman could be cool, since you could go into new and strange places with each rebirth. I wish I could come up with a Nightwing game, but I can't think of something that would just be an Arkham game with Nightwing skin over it. Yeah.
That Hawkman one was my answer. So, boom. I like them apples.
Hey, Matt's been playing a couple of video games in the last year or so, so he's not completely out of the loop now.
Yeah, I played two. I played Spider-Man and 3/4 of Fallen Order.
Hey,
I'll get back to
Outlaw is great.
Yeah, I don't know about storyline per se, but I think if you go back and play one of the early PS4 games, Infamous First Light, one of the superpowers in that was super speed, and it made me want a flash game. Running around the city in that was like, oh, we can totally have a flash game with this mechanic.
Yeah.
Totally.
I thought that as well. I think we've probably spoken about this before. I want a Wonder Woman game in the vein of the recent God of War.
That'd work. That'd work.
That'd be so good.
Same with Thor. Like you could easily just, if you want to do Thor instead, you could do Thor.
Sure. Yeah. I just want Wonder Woman because we're a DC show, but
yeah,
whatever.
They could do the God Butcher Thor game, and I'm here for that because him using lightning and Mjolnir against the Necro Sword, all black. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
I tell you what I want. I want an XCOM style game where the whole idea is that you're in charge of the Justice League, so you have to build the team out and you have to build the Watchtower. And
I feel like I'd prefer to, in that scenario, be like Amanda Waller and you're doing like Checkmate and Suicide Squad. Those sort of organizations.
Yeah. Well, maybe the game has both. Maybe you pick sides. Maybe it's like Command and Conquer where you can pick what faction you're in.
Wait, is that what XCOM's like?
What do you mean?
Like Command and Conquer, I played a lot of Command and Conquer.
It's not exactly Command and Conquer, but it's a turn-based strategy game where you have like say 4 soldiers and there's aliens that you have to fight, right? So each turn, each character you have gets to make one move and take one shot or one other special ability that they might have. So it's a strategic game so it's kind of like a board game, but like with more in-depth stuff going on. I love it. I love XCOM.
It is great.
Yeah.
It's all very tactical, but I'd love a tactical game, and I'm just thinking like. Like it's almost like you're Batman, like being in charge of like building the Justice League out. Except Batman will still be on the team because why wouldn't he be?
You'd play it. You'd more likely to be like your Oracle or something.
Yeah. Oracle's maybe a better thing to say. You are. I'm just trying to think of something that's a different genre than either a third-person adventure game or something like that.
Yeah, because those are the really easy choices, and that and fighting games are the obvious things to do. But I mean, we're not really into fighting games that much here.
Nah, not particularly.
I used to be really into Tekken up until about PlayStation 3, and then that's when I stopped playing video games. But yeah, I'm trying to think, what are some other game types that are out there? I had a discussion with some of my friends at the comic shop on Wednesday that was similar to this about the different kinds of. I know the different kinds of indie games that are out there right now that are, you buy for like $5 on Steam.
Yeah,
I don't like them. $5.
I know this is like a million miles away of like say the Uncharted idea, but I think comparing it more to Tomb Raider and saying like a Green Arrow game, with a bow and arrow.
that just crossed my head, and I thought, yeah, I'm not gonna, because it's too similar to the Uncharted.
I mean, it is similar, but like, you know, you could do something with it.
That XCOM idea, but with the Green Lantern Corps, that would work really well.
Okay, there you go.
Because you said like aliens, and then each of the different Green Lantern, you know, have a different ability based on, you know, where they're from, what sector, or whatever. So that'd be cool. You get to play as Salak.
That would work really well with the XCOM, because the whole thing with XCOM is when your character dies, they die. They don't come back. Right. But you can just, the ring goes off to find a replacement.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it actually works.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's upsetting.
Let's edit this out and send this to a video game developer, guys. Like, this parts.
Because obviously you do get upset though, because if they've leveled up and they've got a lot of cool abilities, you lose all those abilities that they've accumulated. So there's a sadness to it.
Using the Green Lanterns has a built-in mechanic to recruit more when they die.
Sounds like Pokemon in that, where you level this thing up, and then if it dies, you can't revive it though. Like
I suppose that part's true. What's the base building element though if it's a Green Lantern game? You have OA and you're just like building out like rooms that give you benefits and stuff.
You know, I don't know if it's, I'm not sure on that since I've never played XCOM, but I was just saying, I thought with the Green Lanterns that they're each different, and then that's, you could also, you know, have expansion based off of that too.
Yeah,
where here comes the special core.
Your classes are essentially just okay, this race is this class and whatever. Right.
Yeah, I could see that. And then the expansion, because obviously XCOM 2 had the big war, the Chosen expansion. The expansion is, here's the other cores.
Right.
So yeah, that could be cool. Fun.
I want this now, Dan.
Yeah, I want this now. Actually,
modders, do your magic.
I mean, I've put a lot of DC characters into my XCOM 2 game, because you can name all your troops, so I've got everyone.
Customize them so they look like.
I used to do that with NFL Street, and I had a team based on the Teen Titans. And Wally West was my dude. Untouchable. It was great.
It was good stuff. As for because you know, obviously a big genre is a first-person shooter, but I can't necessarily even think of which character would be applicable for that. I guess it'd have to be someone a bit more villainous, like a Deadshot or something like that, because no one else is really.
Deathstroke.
Yeah, Deathstroke. Yeah.
Yeah. You get a sword too.
Yeah, that could work.
I wonder if people have done that. If they've done mods, I know they do mods to those first-person shooters. So like you have Call of Duty, but you're going up against Deathstroke, right?
Yeah. And
before you know it, he's using a sword on your head.
Yeah. In that circumstance, it's more almost like Gotham Central-esque, because you're just a soldier, but you're going up against Deathstroke and Deadshot and whatnot. Rather than you playing as somebody.
That's kind of like Battlefront, right? I've never played Battlefront, but that's kind of where you're playing as an officer, and you encounter these hero figures. Yeah. You know, whether it's Vader or you know, whoever.
Yeah, most of the time you're playing as a random trooper.
Yeah. So, all right, next question.
I was just looking over my games to see if any bright ideas would jump out at me. I don't know, maybe a Super Sons platformer.
I'd be down for it, yeah.
What does this platformer mean?
Like Mario.
Like Mario and stuff like that. Yeah. So jumping and stuff. Side-scrolling, yeah.
There's actually some really strong platformers that are based around having two characters and having to use both characters at the same time, and you know they've got like different complementary abilities. You got to work through the puzzles. I could see Super Sons working well in that regard.
Yeah, there was. I forget what it was called, but there was a Viking game for PlayStation that was similar to that, where you had three of these different Vikings, and each had a different ability, and you had to navigate through the world, but only one's going certain. So, like, one had like a mechanical hand and he could like shoot across distances and stuff. Viking. Well, no, it was Viking themed, where you know.
Sure.
Viking steampunk.
What was that? It was fun. I liked it.
All right. So also from Emil, this is questions that he sent this week. So first up, what character, could be DC, Marvel, movies, TV, whatever, you know, whatever we feel like, has the coolest and best design? I feel like criteria for a good design are open to interpretation, so maybe you like the look, maybe there's a story behind the design, maybe there's some sort of functionality, or whatever you find relevant. So opening this up to all types of characters, not just DC,
that's too wide.
It opens the doors. But at the same time, I almost feel like superheroes are really boring to do this with, because I feel like superheroes simple's better, and whenever they try to make it too complex, it just falls apart. So I'm going to say I love the design of the Xenomorph. H.R. Giger did a great job.
Yeah,
It was
I
great.
mean, yeah, it's hard to fault that.
Yeah, that's my pick. Oh, the Terminator. There's something so simple about that metal skeleton with the red eyes.
yeah. Well, because it's what we fear about machines.
Yep.
That they are going to take over for us, and it's personified because it's just one of us. That's
That's what I like about Cybermen from Doctor Who, where it's really fully humanoid and it's just this metal casing, but then you've got like the handles on the top.
yeah.
Or
Where
the
it's
much better version of that, the Borg from Star Trek.
No,
Yeah, but the Cybermen predate the Borg. Okay.
by a significant amount.
They do,
Yeah.
but the Cybermen look goofy as shit, so I'm not on board with
Yeah,
this.
that's part of the charm.
I mean, it depends which Cybermen you're looking at. I suppose. The
I remember
original
watching-
Mondosian Cybermen, sure, those are goofy.
Even the ones from the new series though look goofy.
No, they don't.
They do. They look cheap.
Jeez. I remember watching the Eccleston Doctor Who with my dad. We came across it on the Sci-Fi Channel, and he had never seen Doctor Who. I'd never seen it. And at the end, what the Daleks revealed to be that episode, he was like, and he's like, "That's what's in there." And I got excited. I was like, "Oh, that's a great concept."
Yeah.
And he was not. So he was like, "This is
Oh.
dumb."
I just thought my perfect one. The shape. Michael Myers. Halloween. Simple.
So wait, what's this exact question? Like, what design of?
Which character has the coolest and or best design? So just design. So basically the look.
Well, it would be a shock that I say Indiana Jones and the Titanic.
That's more costuming than design. Isn't
Or,
it?
no, if he cuts a certain silhouette, I would say that's a design, right?
I can see that argument.
So, you get the indie look of the, which I have tried to take that picture in my hat numerous times.
It would be like
doesn't work out.
if although like I can see what Connor's saying though, that it's leaning more towards just a costume as opposed to like an actual design. But like certainly on the other end of the spectrum, if you just said John McClane, I like that white vest look, I'm like, no, that's a costume. That's just what he's wearing.
No. Because I'm saying if you put Indy in a silhouette, it's similar to Batman.
I think it's a lot more borderline as opposed to like he was just saying McClane. Sure, that's definitely costume. And this I can see where you're coming from. In my head, it's still a costume, but it's closer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hate Star Wars designs. Everything's too round.
Yeah, there's cool creature designs in there and whatnot. Like, or maybe I'm just partial to the Wampa because it's just a Yeti on a snow planet.
Of course you love the one.
Yeah, I love the Wampa. Tauntauns, they're...
I love the idea. If you
Why-
didn't say it was just a Yeti, Pete would have been like, "What the hell's a Wampa?"
Well,
Yeah,
Wampa sounds like a knockoff Whopper from Burger King. Like you went to Burger Prince and they sell Wampas.
Isn't that the name of the not apples that Crash Bandicoot eats?
No.
Are they not Wampa?
I don't think so.
I
could be
feel
wrong.
like they're called Wampas, like Wampa fruit, but maybe I'm wrong. It's got to be something along those lines.
But, no, I like the Wampa. The Wampas are cool.
That's on the
I
case.
really want to know.
That's on the case. Here's the next question in the meantime. Has a story or character ever motivated you in real life situations? Personally, Nightwing as a character has motivated me to be better, and that I think about what he would do if I do feel like working out, or being a shitty friend, then I legitimately try to think of what he would do, and then follow that course of action. I don't know if I have. I don't
Real quick,
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say this, but Connor's correct. It's Wampa fruit.
I hate to hear you say it, Matt.
I know.
Wampa, that's pretty close.
Wampa. I could not remember what they were called. That's why I'm actually shocked that's what they're called. No. So, anyways, sorry to interject there, Pete, but
Yeah, I mean, so Matt's going to say Superman, obviously, because it's his.
well, no, I surprised her that anytime I ride a roller coaster that's a bit too intense for me, I do recite the Green Lantern oath. It helps. It's almost like a mantra because it fits. There's a rhythm to it with the rhyme.
I don't think I have any one character that I ever look to be better. I think in general, over all of the fiction that I have consumed over my life, they have collectively helped me be better. I don't think there's any one that I actually think about specifically and go,
No.
what would this character do or whatever. Yeah,
no, Superman does factor in when in a negative way. When I get mad, my wife will say, "Stop acting like the Hulk." You know.
Oh sure. I wonder. I
You
wonder.
know what I mean? Like,
Emil, are you going through a really bad time right now because you're doing Rick racing things? Don't do Rick racing things. You can ignore it for the time being.
Yeah, well, so, like, I could probably say like generally, sure, but nothing specific for me.
No.
But weirdly for me, more it's wrestlers, just because I don't know if it's like
is this where I need to whip up the meme again?
No, it's just like,
what would
if I'm being an a-hole, would CM Punk say this? If so, say it. You're gonna make a point.
What would Isaac Yankem do in this situation, I wonder?
Yeah, well, we know Kane would burn things. And that's his answer to everything.
I just think Britt Baker and Isaac Yankem should team up and be like a mixed tag team for a while.
God. We'll get to this later.
Yeah, we've got comments. All right.
My mother-in-law was cooking during that promo last night. And she got legit angered at Britt Baker. Yeah, she got worked.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go over to Twitter questions. Thanks to Emil for those email questions. So remember, mftvquestions@gmail.com are always open to send in questions. If not for this show, then for other shows we do. Just put in the subject header what the show is you're asking questions about, and we'll use them when the next time is applicable. So, but of course, we also ask for questions at DC Comics Podcast on the Twitters this week. So number one here from Riss1980. Does your gut tell you that Johns, Bendis, and Snyder are opposing forces or truly working in unison? This is a loaded question.
I have an answer to this.
Yeah.
None of the above.
I
think they all have their own ideas that they are passionate about, and then it's up to the editors to try and make that work.
Yeah, I'm kind of along that lines. I don't think they're opposing. I think they all respect what each other are doing. I think the problem is that the editorial have given them all too much power at the same time, and as a result, we're in this mess of things not really making sense. More on that when we talk about Justice League later. But I think that's where we are.
But I blame editorial, not any of them individually, because of course they've got their ideas and they've been told, go for it, write that idea. Why wouldn't they?
And don't get me wrong, I have a hierarchy here in terms of who I'd want to be the one making the choices.
But that's irrelevant.
John's being top, Bendis being second, Snyder being third, but I don't blame any of them for the mess we're in terms of things not jiving.
I don't think they're opposing by circumstance, in the sense of they have contradictory ideas, but not maliciously. I don't think they're like, I'm going to undo what that guy did.
Let's see. I don't believe that with Johns, because I feel like Johns is a step above, because this is, we know what Johns wants to do, and I don't feel like anything that Bendis or Snyder has done undoes anything in Doomsday Clock, right?
Well,
like
it was actually something in I think it was Justice League that canonizes a moment of Doomsday Clock.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but with Bendis and Snyder, I think you guys are absolutely correct that it's up to editorial. But Bendis is kind of over here working in his section, and all that stuff works, right? With Naomi showing up. It's very consistent with it. Justin, Superman, and then the stuff that Snyder's doing, I feel like he's doing his own thing. So it always feels so different. Like the characters that in Justice League feel like they're in a different set of circumstances than what else is going on. Like that Barry isn't the same Barry in Flash that he is in Justice League, almost.
No, and that is editorial's fault, frankly.
Yep.
That's up to them to then resolve this and figure out what's the way to make this work. Do we not need to do this story in Justice League, or do we need to do something different in the Flash book? In theory, Snyder is above Williamson in the hierarchy right now. So, in theory, his book should take precedent, and Williamson should be told to do something different. As much as that sounds shit, right? That's how.
At the same time, though, I don't know if I necessarily like the idea that whoever's writing Justice League has kind of a say over all those characters, because we always think of the Batman writer being the one who's in charge of all the Bat books, right, and leading that charge. Yeah, right. And I actually don't think that Justice League gets to override. But I feel like Batman and Superman are the two that their main book gets to override Justice League.
That's why I specifically said it's Snyder above Williamson, not Justice League above Flash. If Snyder was on the Flash book and Williamson was on Justice League, I'd be saying, okay, well, Justice League needs to write around the Flash character.
That makes sense.
Look when Morrison was on Batman and how, when the books tied in, how effortless that was, though. So, like when you had the Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul and it went through all the Bat books, at the time.
I think that's the thing, because the Bat books are often edited by the same couple of people, right? There's the Bat editorial team, so it's really consistent within its own thing. Same with Superman. It's okay, but then Justice League is probably a completely separate editor from Flash or from Batman. So there's not. They need someone above the group editors to kind of bring them all into line.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I don't know because I wasn't reading comics at this time, but like when Morrison was writing Justice League, was that considered a flagship when it was Justice League of America?
I think so.
Because I don't think I like the idea of the flagship being like Justice League, where this is the book that kind of drives stuff going forward.
Yeah,
because these are all characters from different aspects, and I feel like that's what the point of events in my brain, at least, are for.
Hey, I've said this before. I don't necessarily think Justice League should be an ongoing thing. I think Justice League is what each event technically is. You know, every time there's an event, that's a Justice League thing. I'm not saying you can't have other events with smaller characters or whatever, but I'm just saying
because like over at Marvel right now, Jason Aaron's doing Avengers, right? Mm-hmm. In that Avengers book, I'm not reading anything else really.
Oh yeah, this is a mess in terms of the continuity of the wider universe.
Yeah, because from what I still haven't read Thor, but from what I understand of Thor, this is not the same Thor that's also fighting a brood infection in Aaron's Avengers.
No, Aaron's Thor in Avengers is very much still kind of the Thor that we had before War of the Realms, is kind of what that Thor feels like, as opposed to the the Herald stuff going on. Tony Stark is still Tony Stark. He is Iron Man, not Arno. I think that whatever that's going on.
See, again, I don't know. So, but that's my thing. But I also don't feel like Avengers is the flagship book. I feel this is the team adventure book, right? Yeah. And they're just let Aaron tell his big grand, Marvel 1 million story that's currently ongoing. And he's doing stuff that's I feel it's a little bit. Oh, who would I compare it to? Just the way that he's going through it is kind of Bendis in that, where each of these arcs been about a different Avenger. Like we had the Ghost Rider, and now we have the Star Brand one, and what that's going to be going forward.
Here's the thing: is I don't think Justice League is the flagship, but I think we got Venditti coming on, and it seems to be doing some smaller stuff.
Not anymore.
But
it definitely was though. When Snyder started that book, it was the flagship for these past couple of years.
I don't think that's because it was just that. I think that's because this is the Snyder book doing that story, and in the same way that when it was in New 52, it was the Johns book.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but the thing is that what I'm saying is it doesn't matter who's writing that. Having Justice League be the flagship, I think, is a mistake because it kind of like having lots of these other solo books, which arguably are. I mean, Batman and Superman. Definitely, and often some of the other ones too are bigger than Justice League in terms of book sales, in terms of importance, in terms of all these things. So having the team book dictate, because let's be honest here, the fun of Justice League and the fun of like crossovers and the fun of team ups is that you get to see all these different characters come together from these other sources, right, who are all standalone. Mm-hmm. So having the team book kind of dictate what they all are is kind of against the fabric of what started the idea of bringing them all together in the first place. And it leads us to this place where none of these solo books kind of match up with what the team book's doing. And I don't necessarily have a problem with it being different. I have no problem with just saying in my head, because you have to do this all the time with comics, because there's multiple Bat books, because there's multiple Superman books, where you say, okay, well, this arc just takes place before this arc in the other book. They're not running concurrently. The problem right now with You're the Villain is that they have definitively pointed out how much this is all running in sync, and we'll talk about that properly when we get to Justice League. But that's the thing.
Yeah, and again, this is an editorial problem.
Yes.
Where, if that Year of the Villain stuff, or more specifically the Doom Signal, because I think we can talk about Year of the Villain as its own event, Hell Arisen separately.
Yeah.
But the Doom Signal, if that just stays in Justice League and is never mentioned in any other books,
there's no problems.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We just go, this happens in between various arcs in respective books, wherever it happens to.
But the fact that they try to brand it as this Year of the Villain tie-in, here's the Doom,
by the way,
they added those pages to Batman that were completely useless.
Yeah, by the way, someone, I don't know what issue it was, it may have been Justice League, but this week someone actually called it the Year of the Villain, and I'm like, what? Don't do that. This is Batman 0 Year all over again. Don't call it the name of the book. I
remember when the New 52 started, they made a big deal about making Justice League under John's the flagship book.
Yeah.
And everything that happened, and when you're doing the New 52, that made sense because it was a fresh start. But like when they did Rebirth, that Justice League book definitely did not feel like a flagship. It just felt like another book.
I think that's the thing, is that we seem to be getting in and out of phases, but they definitely seem to want to make it the flagship book more often than not since the start of New 52, because with John's for the entire run, it was the flagship book.
Right.
And then obviously Rebirth, it was kind of weird because we got this kind of like, oh, this is just kind of a nothing book right now.
We had Hitch for like 2 years, and it was like, that was definitely, they didn't even try and pretend that was a flagship book.
No, they didn't. And to be fair, that's fine. If you want to just do some fun rompy stories and, I mean, we didn't like that book, but it could have been well written, it could have been.
Yeah, but that's why I'm looking forward to Venditti now, is I just want fun romp books, or a fun romp book with the Justice League where these characters come together.
I feel
have
like that's
a
what
joint
we're
adventure
getting from Venditti up until we get the next Snyder event.
Yes, more. So we'll talk about that properly when we get to. So we'll move on from this question, because I think a lot of this is going to end up bleeding into what we talk about with Justice League 39 anyway. So we'll move on. So from Talking Superman, the rascal that he is, who's always popping up. Are there any characters you wouldn't mind or think could benefit from being in a movie but with a different personality, a la Cassandra Cain, as what seems to be the case coming up? My answer to this is actually that. Kind of, but I don't know if it's any characters that I care about could do this. The example I'll give you, even though I didn't really read any of it beforehand, but everything I've tried to read since, after the fact, has told me that this is kind of what happened with Iron Man, and that Iron Man got personality and got charm in a way that he never had in the comics. And whenever I've tried to read Iron Man in the comics, he's been really bland, and I've just not enjoyed reading it. You take Robert Downey Jr. away from that character, and it's dull. And I think my answer to this would be that if there's a character that I don't care about or I don't like, I think it's possible that this works in the sense that whatever they change or add to the character is what will make me like the character, and that'll be like a successful example of this. I think when I already care about the character and love them for who they are, it becomes more of a challenging prospect. Well, no, I don't want them to change because that's why I like them.
Yeah, I'm the same way, because it's like Iron Fist, right? Another Marvel example. That is not what I like about Iron Fist whatsoever. I didn't attach to the fact that he was a rich kid coming back to reclaim his birthright. My version of Iron Fist was always he was a rich kid that got away from that, realized it was all BS, and now he's having to tolerate it, because of who he is. And that show completely whiffed on that.
He's the immortal Iron Fist, Matt. He's a sworn enemy of the Hand.
Yeah. Here's the thing I don't care. I don't like, I want them to change this character. I haven't got like a preference, but if the end result is good and I enjoy it, I don't mind really. Like like Iron Fist there, if that happened to actually be good, I wouldn't have cared that was different.
I know, maybe, but to me then it's not Iron Fist. Then just do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like at that point, just
it's frustrating because I think there's some fundamentals with any character that unless they're a dull character that you're trying to improve because they're lacking something. That if you change, even if it ends up good, it's still going to fundamentally not. And this is not a character, but this is the perfect example I can think of for me. Is Resident Evil 4, right? Is a 10 out of 10, one of the best games of all time. It is a fantastic action game, but it is not Resident Evil. It changed what it was to be what it is, and I love it, but I don't love it as a Resident Evil game. It's not Resident Evil. And I was mad at it for a long time for killing my genre. That's not the same thing.
Well, I mean,
but
no, I get it. Yeah. Like, I agree. There should be some recognizability. Like, just to go back to Iron Fist, because that's what that thing that we're changing there. I think there's still enough to recognize as Iron Fist. He has the glowing hand and. There's some little bits there that I go, sure, this is it's different, but I see why this is Iron Fist. It's bad.
Sure, make. I just caught it before you started saying it.
Yeah, I think Cassandra Cain is probably going to be much worse than that in that regard, in that it's probably not recognizable.
It's just what I attached myself to with Iron Fist wasn't what was delivered, on that show versus, Daredevil. I think they pretty nailed Matt Murdock on that series.
Yeah, I think my fear when it comes to stuff like this, I think sometimes gets misconstrued because, when I say I'm scared of the normals thinking this is what Cassandra Cain is, it's not so much that I really care about normals thinking that. It's more about once it becomes the standard for a while, it becomes what they try to do for a period of time before eventually they revert back to what the original character was, and we end up having to go through a period where not that I expect the comics in this case will duplicate what the movie's doing, but
DC have traditionally been a lot better at holding back on that.
Well, I was just gonna say it's what happened with Super Friends and Aquaman, right? Everyone has a negative you know, take on Aquaman because of what Super Friends did, you know, and it haunts him to this day. I mean, I remember when the movie came out and people were like, "What? It's just gonna be a movie of him talking to fish?"
Yeah,
you know.
Just to be clear, I'm not talking specifically about affecting the comics because I don't even think that happens that much.
No, but it's the same kind of idea, right? Where this is the public perception now, and that's not what it should be.
Yeah, because the concern is that it's not so much that it's even if this movie bombs, and I don't necessarily think it will, but let's say the movie bombs, right? It's the same reason why you're pissed that even the bad Green Lantern movie exists, because it means we don't get a Green Lantern movie that's even another attempt at being good again for a while. So I'm worried that we don't get a proper attempt at Cassandra Cain now for at least 5 years, maybe a decade, because, you know, like...
Well, let's be honest, though. What were the odds of you getting a proper attempt at Cassandra Cain within a decade anyway?
No, but it was better than it was before now. Now that there's one that's wrong, the chances of me getting a good one is now absurdly... It's next to zero.
Here's where I fundamentally disagree on that. Cassandra Cain only exists in this movie because of Margot Robbie. Any of the Birds of Prey, beyond it just being a Harley Quinn movie, exist because she was like, let's get more people involved.
You're right, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The chances of getting a good Cassandra Cain in the next 10 years... was, even if it was about 0.1%, was higher than getting this version now makes it. This version existing now means that the chances of getting another attempt at her at any time in the next 10, even 20 years is now fundamentally lower because she exists.
I'm going to disagree and give you one key example as to why I disagree.
Okay.
Deadpool. Deadpool shows up technically kind of in... One exception
does not prove that every other character is going to get this.
This is an exception where they show up in X-Men Origins Wolverine and it's terrible and people go, what the hell? This isn't goddamn Deadpool.
Okay.
And then they go, well, okay, fine. And they hear the outcry and people complain and you get problems.
Yeah, but here's the sad truth.
It also helps that Ryan Reynolds was like, yeah, that wasn't Deadpool, but I cashed that check, so what can I do to make it up for you?
Yeah. Number one, star power behind that was saying the same thing, right? Number two, and this is just the sad truth, is Cassandra Cain is not got the fan base that Deadpool has. Yeah. She's not going to get the same outcry.
Which is why she wasn't going to get anything anyway.
No, but she might have done. There might have been a reason why she was going to be in a Batman movie at some point. There may have been a reason why she was going to be in a TV show at some point.
Let's say the Matt Reeves movie takes off.
I can't believe that Connor's arguing there was no chance of getting any Cassandra Cain stuff at all in the next decade when we've literally had some characters in the TV shows that no one would have ever guessed in a million years would ever have appeared ever.
No.
Right? This is the most ridiculous argument in 2020 I've ever heard.
Showing up on the CW TV shows is completely different.
Sorry, Matt.
Showing up in the movies.
Matt was going to make a point, sorry.
No, I was going to make a point that let's say the Matt Reeves Batman movie takes off and it creates a new franchise and, you know, we end up getting a League of Assassins story and we have Shiva show up with a little girl that's named Cassandra. Yeah. Right? That's like best case scenario right now. Because of how much goes into that character.
I'm not saying
I don't think this movie impacts whether or not that could happen.
I'm not saying that I expected a Cassandra Cain solo movie in the next. I'm not saying that I expected anything even close to that. I think that by default, having a version of something that fails or a version that, you know, is like that's what it is now because that's the one example that the normals have had. That tends to stick for a while. And it means that we don't get a proper attempt for X amount of time.
Hey guys,
right? And this is where Marvel.
Movie this week.
Yeah, I hate to keep bringing Marvel into this, but it's like why our friend Mario has such an issue with some of the Marvel stuff, right? He's a big Marvel guy, as we are with DC, and like he doesn't like the Guardians. Yeah, it drives him nuts because that isn't the Guardians that he liked reading from the DNA from Abnett and Lanning, which is a fair critique. However, these are the movie versions, and I would gladly take it being because at least it's close. I would gladly take that than the Snyder version of Superman that I got.
Oh, absolutely. You know? I mean, but and this is the thing, like, but I understand the frustration because once that was established, that's who they are now for a long time. It's you know, when do we get a rebooted Guardians of the Galaxy that's a different tone?
Right.
Ever?
And this is the thing. In terms of the comics, I think Marvel have always been a lot more willing to acquiesce to whatever is in the popular culture and change. Whereas, you know, when DC went, I think it was when Rises came out, like Dick was Batman, and they went, who cares?
Because don't get me wrong, there's examples here, right? It's okay if they screw up the Joker once or twice, or Batman once or twice, because they're going to keep trying Batman and Joker over and over again. They'll always keep trying more Batman and Joker. Superman to a lesser extent, but there's going to be more attempts at Superman. It might take a bit longer than the Batman stuff does, but there will be another Superman attempt at some point. But characters like Cassandra Cain, or if we ever get a Stephanie Brown, these characters who are like the sidekicks that came later, that when the movies are too scared to even do like the first Robin, never mind Batgirl and several Robins later and so on, like a lot of these characters will get one chance like every generation, if that. And
that's why I was excited when Whedon was attached to a Batgirl movie.
Oh sure,
because you had to have the feeling that there was going to be multiple Batgirls. Like for him, with how well he knows comics, I could see him going for the legacy and having Barbara Gordon in there, but she might not be the Batgirl. Maybe it was a Cassandra Cain scenario, or Stephanie Brown there too.
I mean, it's not impossible. I think whenever we heard about that, it was always Barbara Gordon that was thrown around. I don't know if that was just people assuming or if there was anything that led to that.
But who's to say that she doesn't pass the torch in the second or third? Black Widow seems to be passing the torch to Florence Pugh, so we're getting a secondary Black Widow. I mean, there's no reason why if DC got to the same success that Marvel did with its movies, then some characters would pass the torch down when the actors had to change,
Yeah.
Which cracks me up that those two actors.
I don't think that this movie would change if they get to that point, because it's going to take time anyway. That we might do another.
But that's I think why it frustrates me more, is because the DC extended universe, these movies, for the most part, have been a wet fart of an attempt of trying to copy Marvel, and have not been a success. And there's a couple of standouts that are a bit better, and we like for various reasons. We're not there yet, and we're so far from even getting the fundamentals right that the fact that we're skipping ahead to certain things and kind of messing them up, it just kind of hurts a bit more. And it does.
But with these on the horizon, at least I feel like Birds of Prey is the movie that the director wanted to make. Maybe it shouldn't be called Birds of Prey.
I think it's the movie that Margot Robbie wanted to make.
Oh, sure.
I mean that in a good way.
And look, I admire that she's passionate. I admire that she cares. I don't know if her vision for this is my vision for any of this, but
it's interesting. With the whole idea is they went, right, let's make a Harley movie. What do you want to do? And she could have done a solo movie, or Gotham City Sirens. She was like, I want to get
But
Birds of Prey.
here's the thing. I do have to ask the question, and I'd love to ask her this. I'd love to say. So you said I want to do Birds of Prey. So if you're a Birds of Prey fan, why isn't there a Barbara Gordon? What was that decision? I mean, maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason why she couldn't have Barbara Gordon. Maybe she was told you can have Birds of Prey without her, and that's fine.
Yeah, maybe there's a bat embargo, right? They're famous for doing that.
But I would just love to. I'd love to know that. Was that something that she never asked for? Is it something she was told she couldn't have?
It's the sort of thing that they're not allowed to actually say.
I know.
Usually. I know. They're on the press tour at the minute, and a lot of the cast have been going. So what would you do next time? And a lot of them have gone, Barbara Gordon, immediately that's their answer. A good few of them have said that, so it's not like they're unaware.
So in my best case scenario here is that it leaves it open for a sequel, as a lot of these movies do now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's such a mess that requires Barbara Gordon to come in and make them into a proper unit, right? They need her stability or whatever.
Yeah, they need her guidance and her leadership. Yeah,
perfect. And there she is.
Look, I want to like the movie. I do. I hope I come out of it. I hope the review next week, I come into it, I sit down at this chair and I sit and say, you know what, it impressed me. I still hate the fact that Cassandra Cain's wrong, but it was a fun movie. It did all these other things right. I want to say that. I do.
So meta question real quick here.
Yeah.
Did Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Ewan McGregor get together after Fargo season 3 or after this?
I believe it was during Fargo.
All right. So it's just weird now that they're playing opposite in a superhero movie, right?
I haven't even thought of that, to be honest.
Yeah. Obviously, there's the first reactions have been out, and always take those with a grain of salt, because generally speaking, they invite people who are going to be into it.
Yeah, Batman v Superman had great first reactions on Twitter, so that's not.
Which then pissed me off sitting in the theater. I got had.
I think we learned a valuable lesson that movie.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I remember going in there. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
I still remember
it's not fine.
We went to the midnight show. We came back. It was like 3 a.m. and we're just angry for an hour. On video.
It's worth mentioning that I have not been to a midnight showing since that. It's not worth it. I'm just going to be upset. It's not worth it.
I've
My
got a
last
few.
midnight
Maybe Star
movie, I
Wars
can
one.
proudly say, was Age of Ultron. I went out on a high. Then they started doing the 7 o'clock showings, and there we go.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a thing here. It's midnight or the next day.
Well, it's
So,
because of the time change. We still technically get it early at midnight, so they don't,
Yeah, exactly.
they don't put it earlier
So
for us.
I'm not complaining. I only really go for the Star Wars movies now, but
Yeah.
In fact, I think our midnight showing coincides with the East Coast 7 p.m. showing, so it's just perfect in terms of lining up with
pretty
them.
much. Yeah.
Anyways, next question.
Well, what I was just going to say on Birds of Prey, though, is ignoring the actual tone of what people are saying about the early reactions, because throw that out of the way, some of the actual comments I think are worthwhile, in that they're saying, it just completely ignores continuity, and it's like, that whole extended universe, just screw it. It just does whatever it wants and has fun with that.
I'm okay with
I can
that.
appreciate that, because
after that
big extended universe, just do movies now.
After that Suicide Squad, I have no complaints about them ignoring what came before. Just as we're on the movies, I'll just mention briefly the Batman started shooting this week. Matt Reeves posted the photo of the slate, the first slate they were using. They confirmed the cast.
Cast list. Yep.
Yeah, we got Dano as Riddler, of course, which we all kind of knew this anyway, but just they kind of confirmed it all. Do you know what? Like, I'm at, now that it's starting to feel real because they're shooting, right, and they've confirmed this cast list, because Matt Reeves made Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes, I am feeling optimistic all of a sudden, and it's purely based on talent. It's not about anything else. It's just the talent of the filmmaker.
I trusted him. I listened to a podcast with him right as War was coming out, and he had just taken the job, and the interviewer, who was a comics fan, was like, "So, what are some of your inspirations for Batman?" And he says, "I want to get back to the detective story. I want to make a modern noir with Batman as the detective.
I'd like to see that in the comics as well, to be honest."
And right there, I know that this is a guy that's not just taking it because it's Batman. He had an idea, it got picked up, and it's gonna, basically what he wants to do, he'll get to do, hopefully. So
I'm feeling optimistic. It's kind of a shame that this will probably end up being great, because Batman is the character from DC who already has a great trilogy and doesn't necessarily need it in the same way that a lot of other characters do. I will say, but if it's good, then great. Batman kind of lives on forever. The only thing I will say is the one thing that could really separate this from the Dark Knight trilogy for me is that I've already got a perfect solo Batman trilogy. I feel like if for the second one of this, they really need to start adding a Robin or something, just because I'm going to start calling Hollywood cowards if they don't start putting in a Robin or a Batgirl.
I think it's kind of funny that we had one trilogy of a solo Batman. Before that, it was Robin everywhere.
One-offs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, after the first two movies, sure.
Yeah, but I mean,
we had Robin and Batgirl.
Yeah, but that I mean, keep in mind though, that was like a decade before Batman Begins. So like by the time we're at now, we have not had an on-screen in-movie Dick Grayson or anything equivalent. And
I would love to tell. I'd love to go back in time and tell younger me that you're gonna have Poison Ivy, Bane, Batgirl, and Robin all in one movie, and it's not gonna be good. Even 12-year-old you is gonna be like, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah,
man.
do you know what I want someone to go back and put in Tom Hardy's lines over the Bane and Batman and Robin.
Wouldn't be hard because all he does is grunt.
I know.
Grunt.
Time to go mobile.
I bet that's been done already. It has to have been.
Ah, yes. Anyway, you're a big guy. For you. Anyway, so yes, so Batman movie might be good. Next question on Twitter, at K_dog338800. What do you think will happen with the Trinity, seeing as Wonder Woman is unhappy with Superman revealing his secret identity? This the same person tweeted at me earlier in the week and showed me the panel that obviously we were talking about Superman last issue. But one thing that we actually didn't notice is that in that big 2-page spread where everyone's all happy when he shows up at the Hall of Justice, there's one exception. Wonder Woman looks sad, and I think she also looked a little bit pissed in the previous issue as well when everyone else was happy that he was revealing who he was. So I think this is clearly something that they're going to Bendis is going to address. He's clearly seeing this
in Heroes. Yeah, that's coming out. Which would make sense because I didn't pick up on that. Like I didn't look, and I didn't pick up on her reaction. So maybe that's what he was referring to in this scene. Because I was wondering, like, if everyone's happy for him, what's to be continued? Like they're just gonna tell him what he means to them as Clark and the Superman. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was to guess why she's pissed, like why she's upset about this, I'm not sure.
Yeah, she is the character that we associate with truth, so you'd think she'd be happy for him. I don't know.
Yeah, my joke on Twitter is that he's been telling her that his name is Steve all these years, so then she's just pissed that he's been lying to her. But
that's just mean.
But I don't know. I don't know what's happening with the charity. But I'm curious. But obviously, it's a story that Bendis is telling. I don't think it's going to. Yeah. I don't think it's going to bleed into anything else. It feels like something that'll just be addressed in the Superman book.
And I'm sure it'll be something deeply personal to her about their relationship, as Diana and Clark, as Wonder Woman, as Superman, and since we've gotten away from their whole relationship in New 52, since him and Lois were rightfully back together. I wonder what this means for those two going forward.
Yeah. So the final question we'll do. I'm going to actually kind of ignore the first part of this because the first part of this is just basically talking about the end of the tease at the end of Justice League, which we're going to talk about anyway, obviously.
Yep.
But this is from @StanleyCoda. So I'll just skip into the last part. What are our thoughts on these universe reboots happening more and more frequently in the past 20 years?
We kind of actually spoke on this not that long ago, didn't we?
Yeah, Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, we were talking about how it's kind of like a 5-year cycle now, and how it's kind of become that. But I suppose, like, how do we like that? This is how comics are now, that we have to do this every 5 or 6 years.
As a continuity wonk, I don't like it because that's new stuff I have to learn. Right? It's not just there. It's like when a new player comes to the team. Now you have to learn all his nicknames and consistency, tendencies and whatnot. You're like, I have the other guy, but and my go-to joke has been, as a comics fan, I hate change, right? So I guess they're fine as long as there's a good story to go with them. You're not just like New 52ing it for no reason. So you look back at the New 52, that was a sales gimmick at the end of the day. I think it's always
a sales gimmick at the end of the day.
I don't know, because I'm going to throw up Infinite Crisis. I give that a lot of play. I feel that was a story that John's always wanted to tell.
I think it is technically at its core always about sales, but some of them, they build a good story out of it, so you don't feel it as much. You just feel the big event happening. It doesn't feel as egregious.
I think, honestly, I like it. I think we've spoken about, I think it gives a nice fresh feeling whenever it happens. It's things are new. There's things to be excited about. That change. While you go, I don't like it. There's usually some good stuff comes out of it. And if it turns out that you don't like whatever it's changed into, well, 5 years and you'll get something else, which sounds like a long time, but as opposed to what it was before,
but Connor,
it's not.
We didn't have Wally for all of the New 52.
No, I know, and that's shit.
And now we get him back, and we really don't have him back.
Yeah, no, it's shit. I'm not disputing that. Yeah. That is shit. But the reality is that if we had to wait 20 years between these events, then we'd be waiting a lot longer to have Wally. Whereas 5 years, that doesn't seem so bad in comparison.
Pete, do you think this is what the Barry fans felt in between John's bringing him back or Morrison bringing him back in Final Crisis?
I don't know. I would actually love to know how many Barry fans there were who were upset that there was no Barry for 20 years.
I mean, we know John's was one of them.
Obviously.
So, yeah.
Can we do a little section in a minute and talk about Wally?
We can,
with some spoilers for that, and we'll make that clear.
Yeah. Because Flash Forward came out this week, and we all saw spoilers for it. Or it's coming out this week.
I think it's coming out this.
It's coming out this week. Okay,
but it leaked early, and yeah, we have thoughts.
Yeah, so
it's not out this week. I have these up right now. I don't see Flash Forward on here. So.
Cool. Yeah, I think it leaked. I think some retailers got an early copy, so someone leaked it. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I like the refresh and sort of shaking up the sort of the creative force of the line. I don't necessarily like what New 52 did, where it actually reset everything and completely changed continuity, because that took away a lot of things, and ultimately it left us with a really bad taste. But when we talk about New 52, we talk about it with a bitter taste. It's
it's a punchline for every. There's a couple good things that came out of it, but mostly it wasn't.
It's like one good thing per 3 or 4 bad things.
Yeah, I think, and then I'd say on top of that, there's just one blanket bad thing over the whole thing was the feeling of disconnect and the feeling of like it not really feel like a DC universe. And I think that's the concern with these happening every 5 years, is that there's always a worry that the next one might do that again. That might give us that feeling.
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying. While I'm a fan of the concept, it can be executed badly, as seen by the new 52. Yeah. I think there's a balancing act. You want to make it fresh and appealing to people, but you don't want to throw everything out the window.
I feel like what I kind of want, and Marvel did this too often, but I think when they did Marvel Now, they had just a nice amount of, it feels like a refresh, but it's just all these new creative teams, and it feels like all these new books to try, but it wasn't like, hey, let's throw all of our continuity under the bus.
I like what we're doing, potentially into with this next one. With so we're doing hyper time is the next thing, right? And we're kind of fixing that. And that's going to change some stuff with the timeline. We're doing this 5G stuff, and we're going to change some things. There will be continuity changes, without doubt. We saw some of them last week with Wonder Woman. But I'm okay with changes and things here or there, as long as it's not everything at once. I think is the concern, is that nothing feels like I've got any attachment anymore.
Yeah,
there still needs to be recognizable elements.
I love the idea that Marvel had the Ultimate Universe and the mainstream universe.
Oh, they did.
And when the Ultimate Universe was there, you had that, you could tell these fresh stories, but then it eventually just became, hey, let's rehash famous stories from the other universe, and then finally we'll merge them.
Wasn't that kind of the point the whole time with Ultimate? It's like, let's retell
it. It was, but it was like it was more like they had the idea of like enough. Because obviously so many things, like say Spider-Man, happened over the 40 years at that point that it existed, and none of it was planned in advance. So all these things just kept getting added on. The whole idea of the Ultimate, to a point, was that no, we can actually start Spider-Man from scratch with knowing all these things where it's going, so that it feels more coherent and it feels more like a planned out
same with the
story.
Same with the X-Men, where like the first 3 trades all build to the Phoenix showing up, and versus the Phoenix is something that just happened because John Byrne. Was it John Byrne? Yeah, I feel like it was John Byrne. It's either Byrne or Claremont.
It was Claremont.
Alien stuff. Yeah, was it Claremont?
Yeah, the Uncanny X-Men at that time. Yeah, it was Claremont.
I can't remember. It's 70s. It all blends together to me in that era, because I don't. That's a blind spot for me. But anyways, so it all built to there, and so I feel like we can do this stuff, and I feel like Black Label's kind of doing the same thing, except it's not just one universe, right? Where these are just stories. I got my friend to pick up Criminal Sanity, so I told him it's the best described was it's basically David Fincher's Harley Joker story.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm down," and he picked up the first issue, right? Which I'm glad it exists, so that story can be told. So as long as there's always an outlet where different stories that aren't in that mainstream, and I think that was the problem with the New 52, is like it merged Vertigo and it merged Wildstorm.
It was all of this or nothing.
Exactly, and now at least we have Hill House, right? And we have Black
Label, which while Black Label won't satisfy every itch, you'll get a Batman book, you'll get a Wonder Woman book.
Like I don't necessarily want to read Dead Earth, but I'm glad that it's there if you want to read a post-apocalyptic Wonder Woman story.
It's pretty good, so you probably should read it. But yeah,
it's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's things to do.
And I'm kind of excited for 5G, but again, the comics fan of me that hates change is like,
Joe, it's funny.
Yeah, but
is doing a podcast, Matt, I think our perspective's a little bit skewed, because it's actually exciting, I think, for us as a group, because it's a lot of stuff to really get to talk about, right? There's a lot of stuff to really sink our teeth into.
And that's cool, but I just got my Superman back.
Yeah. I mean, Pete, you said that as us as a podcast, we get to talk about, but I think that's, even before we were doing this, it was, as a community,
sure,
you want to talk about it with other people, right? And I think that's exciting anyway.
And I've seen this with my friends at the shop that never were really into X-Men. I mean, they were familiar, and then the Hickman stuff comes, and that's really all my friends reading right now. There's so much, and it reinvigorated his interest in X-Men. So he was telling me how good Marauders has been.
Really, I've heard bad things about that one, funnily enough. Yeah, but I mean, I mean, I guess it's just, but even just in the sense of refreshes like this, big things happening do tend to drive more people to look for podcasts. So it tends to benefit us when there's a big Doomsday Clock issue out. And obviously we kick-started off the start of Rebirth, and that did, there was a kind of an inherent nice build of audience at the start, and obviously we've built quite a bit since then over time. But there is kind of an excitement to, there's a whole big refresh coming. Maybe this will, get more people into comics, get more people looking for shows and things like that.
Yeah, but I think it comes down to, obviously it was a little bit different coming out of the New 52. But even before we decided to do this, we were excited about Rebirth.
Oh yeah,
as a concept, like, oh, new things, change. Are we going to fix things? And this time it's less, are we going to fix things, but change. What's new, what's interesting, and that's kind of exciting. And what creative teams are going to get shuffled, like. And it's frustrating because you don't want every creative team to get shuffled. Some things you want to stay as they are. They've just started. For example, Tynion on Batman. Oh, he's just kind of started. You want to let him go for a couple of years, see what he can do. But
and there's a couple of things.
Flash, I wouldn't mind that. There's
a couple of things to fix, though. That's not.
Yeah. No, there are a couple of things. Don't get me wrong.
Which I think will take us on nicely to this flash forward section that was just there.
Yeah. Well, and this is the problem. That the things that we want to fix, this and a certain Mr. Rick Grayson, probably won't be fixed under 5G for one simple reason, and that reason has a name: Didio.
Didio. So spoilers then for the final issue of Flash Forward. It's not out yet. That leaked. But from my understanding, from the thing that I read briefly on Reddit, is that Wally is going to merge with the Morbius chair and basically be turned into a new character. He's which I immediately said, what? So he's Rick West? Is that what he is? He's Rick West now.
Yeah. Basically, so he's not Metron.
Yes.
He's Westron.
Waltron.
Sure.
Waltron.
Yeah, but so it's something entirely new, and this kind of leads into some of the things we heard about 5G where we're doing some fourth world stuff, right? So this does play with that angle, I suppose, but no. This is Didio, not liking this era of character. He hates Nightwing. He hates Wally West. We know this. This is just him going, yeah.
He's such a prick. Like,
do you know what really annoys me as well is Tempest Fujinot from the Dark Multiverse stuff. That's all being paid off in Flash Forward. That's all what that's been building to. He's the one been taking Wally around the multiverse and doing this thing with him at the end. I'm like, oh man, I really liked what that was building to, and it was this.
It's upsetting. This is the sad thing, is that there was so much hope at the start of Rebirth about Wally and Nightwing getting a big new book and all that stuff, and like there's such a sadness to this where, like, imagine going back and telling ourselves then, oh, by the way, by 2020 Dick's got amnesia, he goes by Rick Grayson, he doesn't want to be Nightwing, and Wally's accidentally murdered a bunch of people and is changing his character.
That red outfit, that red outfit don't look so bad no more.
Yeah. There's one person that's responsible for it. It just makes me so mad.
Yeah.
Honestly, people who are buying Nightwing still, why are you buying it? Don't buy it.
But see, at least I trust in Jurgens more than I trust in the other guy.
We don't want to support the concept anymore because it's no, just give us bloody Nightwing. Like, let's say, the whole thing with Rebirth was, hey, look, we're giving him back the blue, and we were like, yeah, this is great. It's finally Nightwing again. And now it's like,
and for a while it was.
Give me the red suit any day.
And for a good 50 or so, or close to 50 issues, it was.
And you know what? Him being shot by KG Beast didn't really have any payoff in Batman.
No, we thought it would eventually, but it didn't.
Like, it drove Bruce to almost murder KG Beast, and we got that weird animal story.
And then that was it.
And that was it. And there was no... this wasn't part of Bane's grand plan or anything.
The sad part of this is that my reaction to reading this week, after Heroes in Crisis, and then especially after this, I actually said on Twitter, I would rather they kill him off than do this to him. I would rather he just not be here than be dragged through the mud like this. And that's the thing, like Nightwing in the New 52 wasn't a terrible book. Yeah, it was not always great, but it had moments. It was mediocre, but it wasn't.
It became Grayson, and it was great.
Oh, that was great, yeah. But in general, Nightwing was up and down. It was never like fantastic, other than when it was Grayson. But it wasn't a terrible book by any means. And like the biggest ongoing complaint about it was, oh, why is he in red? And now that seems so small in comparison. It's like, well, at least he was still Dick bloody Grayson. I could recognize him.
Yeah, I'm all right with him not being a secret agent. I wasn't super fond of that.
And so now I'm looking at this, and my conspiracy brain's going that you have these two heroes that are pretty critical to 90s comics, right? With that's when the Nightwing book really took off, and you had Wally as
Hey Matt,
operating as Flash.
back in the first couple episodes, if you go back to those first couple episodes, I'm pretty sure we called them the heart and soul of the DC universe. We said that right at the start of all this.
And so I'm just looking at this, and now there was that story in Nightwing where he saw the different versions where he was fighting Dr. Hurt, right? And Damian was there, and that was meant to be dark metal influence, like Dark Multiverse. And now you have Wally, who's going to be, I guess, working with Tempest Fuginaut with the Morbius chair, and it just makes my conspiracy brain going.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of it is 5G's coming up. They want to put someone new in the cowl for each, and they want to give us a reason why it's not Dick Grayson, why it's not Wally West as the Flash, why it's someone else entirely. The easiest way, get them out of the picture.
That makes me want to punch things. Because DC's always had the legacy characters, right? And it's always a strength of theirs. Yeah.
Not today.
and this is the thing. I don't think any of us would mind them replacing Wally as the Flash with someone else.
No, just they did, Wally.
But even if Wally died and someone else picked up the mantle as the Flash, say hypothetically, at the end of Rebirth, we'd had Barry for 5 years, and then we got Wally for 5 years as the Flash, right? And now we're getting towards this 5G, and we're getting we want someone else in the cowl.
It's
Avery. I don't think any of us would mind that. Sure, Avery. Yeah, I'm with that. Right. We wouldn't be angry. We've got decades of Wally stories in the past.
Yeah.
Right. But
that's okay.
I want a character who I consider one of my favorites to be taken care of.
Sure. It's the bait and switch though of promising us, hey, Wally's coming back, and that was the whole point of Rebirth. And it's like, hey, we listened, we're giving you what you want, and we got a little bit here or there, and they never committed to it, and now they're going, screw it. We're not doing that.
I would rather have a heroic death at the end of a good story that builds up to it well, to send off a character, than the way he was just kind of forgotten about when New 52 happened because timeline changed, so now it doesn't exist. Or what's happening now, which is the complete, let's face it, bastardization of what he is.
I honestly think this is worse.
Yeah.
Worse than New 52?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at least in the New 52, I understand why they were doing it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand all of it. And I go, okay, sure, you want to do this, you want to just keep it simple, you want to make it accessible. I don't necessarily like it, but I understand where they're coming from. This here, it's there just because they don't know what to do, and they're like, just throw him over there and get him out of the way, and that's more frustrating.
Well, it's more frustrating because with Wally, he doesn't even have a title. They could easily just be like, he got cut off from the Flash, from the Speed Force, right? And now he's living as a mechanic, in Keystone or whatever. That's fine. He's still not with us, but he's not being disrespected like this, And
I go, okay, well, we can at some point in the future, we can bring him back. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's frustrating, but hey,
very much so.
But hey, there you go. I guess that's the questions / flash forward section wrapped up. All right, moving on then. And for those of you on Patreon who missed the wrestling talk the last week or two, it's back. We just recorded a big giant 35-minute one. So we are going to talk about Justice League issue 39. Scott Snyder writing with Jorge Jimenez and Daniel Sempere on the art.
I forgot we hadn't even started the book yet.
We'll get through these though. These are quick this week. Well, up until your Red Hood.
It's not a lot of books.
Always seems to take forever.
Yeah.
He not your fault. There's an issue of Flash.
Yes.
I will say my piece and we'll be good this week.
We'll see.
Anyway,
so
Justice League
ain't going to be quick because there's ranting to be had here, I think. This is such a non-ending that leads into Snyder's next event. And the fact that there's a Justice League 40 out next week, which Snyder had to actually clarify on Twitter, is set before... was it his entire run? It was either his entire run or it was set before all this stuff from recently. Anyway.
I'm glad you said that because I missed that. So,
I didn't see that either.
Yeah, no, I retweeted it on the comics on DC Comics podcast Twitter. So
I go and check what he actually said then.
Yeah, you can go check what he said if you want. But he did confirm it's set before whatever has been happening. But here's the thing: so this book ends with essentially the Justice League is pulled from the timeline or whatever, and they're going to have to go into hyper time to like fix things. And this is leading to whatever the big encore, because we get this teaser at the end with Wonder Woman with the chainsaw of truth.
Yeah,
so
buddy.
good.
Again, I saw them open at Riot Fest. It was dope.
Yeah, so it's like that teaser's fine. Like, I'm down with Wonder Woman with the chainsaw. Okay, I'm down for the ridiculousness of that. Like, absolutely. Here's the thing. This is what I was alluding to earlier. Is if technically speaking, every other book in the DCU should be pausing until this is addressed, because technically the continuity as we know it doesn't exist anymore until this is fixed. Right. And the problem is that they've done so much work over the past 6 months to make sure that Flash is tying into You're the Villain. There's a Doomsday in the sky. Oh, Batgirl's got it in the sky. Action Comics has got it in the sky.
So in hockey, there's goaltender interference, right? Where if the goalie could have made the stop, but another player had gotten into their way and a goal scored, it's no goal. And I feel like the whole Year the Villain is just editorial interference, that if Snyder had just been left alone to do this in Justice League, maybe cross over to a couple pertinent books, we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in right now.
I mean, some of my critiques that I've had are just the books writing on it, so I still have. But yeah, this mess we have of the universe.
It's interesting because I really like this issue. I think it's really good. I like everything that it does. I like what it sets up. I'm down for death metal, encore, whatever they call it.
I liked it better when it was in Doomsday Clock, but that's just me.
Yeah. That's the other critique I have, is that a lot of the themes that it seems to be hitting at the end feel like, hey, we just did a better version of this story.
Yeah, no, however... Well, Matt, you might
Next
say.
One.
I don't disagree with that. Doomsday Clock was better in every way. Of course it was. It was like one of the best comics of the last decade.
Yeah.
But I like this anyway. I had fun.
I think, because I mean, the story is basically that Jean reaches out to everyone, telepathically, tries to sway the feeling of everyone to hope instead, or justice rather.
Choose justice.
And I do kind of like the meta kind of commentary here of when they basically say we lost the vote, because all I could think about was the 2016 election or Brexit or any of these things that have happened recently. I saw a lot of social commentary and Batman just being like, we lost the vote.
There's a disbelief. They were so certain in their righteousness, and then wait, what happened?
We got so close to winning. I mean, because I'm assuming it's close. It's that thing where it got to the. In the case of Brexit, it was like 51%, and it was like, damn you, damn 52,
you. Or you win the popular vote, but it still doesn't matter because of an archaic system of anointing a president. Hey,
and not to get tons of political, but it was just that particular moment made me think of all these things.
Yeah.
And the feeling of the aftermath of all those events. So that's fine. I will say this has to be some of the worst art I've seen from Jimenez and Sempere. It felt rushed to me. It felt because this is the thing. The previous solicits implied this issue was going to be very different, and it feels like they changed a lot of this so last minute that the art, as a result, feels very rushed to me across the board. A lot of the faces, a lot of the proportions feel off.
Because at first you can tell that it's Jimenez, but as the book keeps going and it blends into Sempere, it doesn't do it gracefully, I usually would say. So, and then like Pete just said, Jimenez's art, it's not his best. Like, there's like Supergirl messed up forehead.
It's like rarely terrible, but it's noticeably not up to par.
It's noticeably mediocre. And so the end of the book, after they've all failed, and Jean has his kind of 2001 Space Odyssey Star Child moment. He gets up on the moon, and like the rest of the Justice League are there in all black. And it's like, hey, we're not dead, we're something else. We're, let me actually find some of the text here just so we get this accurate. So the Quintessence show up, right? Which is, Ganthet and the Phantom Stranger.
It annoys me that there's 6 of them.
And Hive.
Because Quintessence 5.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know that seems petty and it's tiny. It just annoys me.
Ganthet, Phantom Stranger, Highfather, Hera, and who am I missing?
Spectre?
There's definitely 6 of them because they counted. Spectre's one.
Yeah, but you don't count Spectre. Spectre's never really part of the quintessence. He's just there.
So it's 5 then. 5 plus Spectre.
Yeah, but they're including Spectre in it this time, and I'm like, no. It's the quintessence and Spectre.
Yeah, so they give them their outfits, right? We are the ones who saved you, brought you to this space, cloaked in our energy. She may have returned to the other heroes to the past and the future. So they're basically just hand waving that, okay, she didn't kill the JSA or the Legion. They're just back in their own timeline. It's fine.
Right.
But you she meant to kill. So do not be insolent, blah, blah, blah. Protecting more, blah, blah. I'm just trying to get the exact text of what they say is going on. So Aquaman says, no, but things rise and fall with tides, Barry. This moment maybe is not ours. And Ganthet says, the Atlantean is right. What happened here was never going to work, right? So this was never going to be the way we do this. And there's a page with all these various things happen. We see Young Justice, we see Black Adam.
Leviathan.
Yeah, Leviathan, all this stuff.
We see a pound from Doomsday Clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the Black Adam one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention you specifically.
Yeah. So the universe has been divided by evil, and in division comes fear, anger, disillusionment, blah, 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 blah. So what is this option you've been protecting? Tell us. He's like, we'll show you. He brings up a big door. Behind this door lies a path that connects all actions, all past, present, and future. This fight is bigger than justice or doom. It is everything. This is all very crisis-y sounding to me of,
It is, yeah.
Converging everything. But be aware, in opening this door, you will bring everything to bear and give reckoning to every story, every event throughout history, the ones you know and the ones you do not. And they're like, okay, of course we're going to try. And then the line that really stuck out to me is, okay, we're just doing the same themes as what Doomsday Clock kind of did. Is when one of them says, okay, listen to me, Perpetua's great lies that we each matter alone. The truth is that we matter by making every life matter, honouring every story. That's how we fight her. We make everything matter. And all I felt was, yeah, Doomsday Clock just did that. we just did this.
It's called the Metaverse, guys. And
that's not wrong. It's Doomsday Clock light.
Yeah, the whole thing with Perpetua winning, I thought that was like, okay, this is like Empire Strikes Back of Snyder's stuff now, right? I get that, and we knew this other thing was coming, but it just kind of felt unfulfilling. Like I never get the moment like she won.
Yeah,
like, we're told she's won, but I don't have that feeling.
I think for me, that moment comes when they realize they lost the vote.
Yeah, the final panel is them just running into this door of light, and that's the end of the book. And I don't think there should be a Justice League 40. I think, now don't get me wrong, as much as I joked and said that every book should be stopping, that wouldn't normally happen, and that'd be okay pretty much because, like I say, I wouldn't expect all these books to be so heavily tied in, because it raises all these questions of like, okay, so Hell Arisen set after this, or the Justice League around during that, because the Legion of Doom are in Action Comics right now. Is that after this? Is it before this? If it is after this, does that mean there's another Superman still in continuity, but this is like a separate batch that have been separated from continuity? There's so many goddamn stupid questions.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I think having Justice League issue 40 out next week, or in 2 weeks' time, is silly. No. I feel like that should be the end of a Justice League book until this event's done.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree.
But no, instead we're going to have... I mean, Venditta's Justice League might be fun. It may be a good, solid little book, but...
Yeah.
It just feels weird. It's like, you end on this cliffhanger, and then you have issue 40, and it's set before all this stuff until further notice. It's just...
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know why. Just because they wanted a Justice League book, I guess.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know. I don't know why. That is just strange.
I'd say do a 12-issue maxi to separate it, but then obviously the main Justice League book will always sell more than a maxi that's separate. It always will, just because it's got the numbering.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. So I don't... It's frustrating to me. I don't think this issue is bad per se. I think it's bad as a final issue. Actually, this is how I'll put it. See if Encore or Death Metal or whatever we're calling this thing, if this was starting in the next couple of weeks, if the first issue of that was in February, I would say this is perfectly fine, because it's setting up something that's about to start. The fact that that's not starting until at least May is a problem.
I get that.
Or give us a trailer like John's used to. Like, remember when Sinestro Corps War ended, and it says, yeah, but the worst is yet to come, and it was like little hints of Blackest Night. and you're like, oh man, coming, in 2 summers or whatever. Like, choose something else here, because I got to the end of this, and I went to reading it digitally.
Yeah.
And I went to, and it was the last page with all the publishing stuff on it.
So you don't know, because we're reading digitally, you can't feel how much is left, so you don't know when you're coming up to the end. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, well.
It's funny because we've been complaining for the last year about all these little tie-in moments that have been intrusive. I never predicted at the time just how much of a cluster F this was going to cause in terms of the continuity overall once we got to the end of it, because this is a mess.
It is. It's one of those things where in this story, I don't mind it, what I said earlier, and I don't mind that there's a break between this and the next part, personally. I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me as much. I'm like, okay, it's weird that there's a Justice League book, and I think they should have taken a break. I'm with you on that part.
It's everything compounding. It's that the story's not happening for a few months, plus there's a Justice League book that's just doing other things. It's all these things kind of adding on to each other to just make it feel like a complete mess. But the most big thing, though, the biggest thing here is just how every other book is tying into this, and this book is telling us that the Justice League is gone from Earth and Perpetua is in control, and yet there's still, characters, all the Justice League are still there, other characters are still there. It doesn't feel like anything's changed in those other books. And maybe it will next week, maybe all the books are going to do something, but I doubt it.
Yeah, no, I doubt it. I think it's one of those things where we have to assume every other book takes place before this part of the story, but they've screwed it all up by having the Doom symbol in them. Yeah, frankly, you take that away, and there isn't a single problem. I could quite happily say every other book takes place before this Justice League book, like the whole thing.
Yeah, the Flash was the biggest problem before, but now everything's a problem. now all of them are problems. Yeah. It's so weird.
Well, like you were saying, like when Perpetua wins, that's when the Doom symbol appears to everybody, right? So that's where you can say like the stuff in Batgirl happens.
No, I think the Doom symbol was already there. I think they're just making the choice.
No, I know, but what I mean is like she never sees that it's becoming the justice symbol, right? To her, that's only, whatever, and this is how I would try to fix it in my brain if I cared, but I don't because it's a mess.
Yeah,
so
this is probably the worst it's ever been since I've been reading comics. Like just what the overall continuity mess is like.
It's somehow too many hands, but also not enough hands in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like. So yeah, it's weird.
See if Justice League had never done all these tie-ins, all these Year of the Villain tie-ins never happened, like this would be fine. I would just say this all happens later, no big deal.
Yeah.
But like. I don't know. It's so wonky. I can't even begin to fathom it.
It's very wonky.
I mean, the issue's fine. I think it bugs me that Snyder's run just ends with a cliffhanger for his next thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of annoying.
I think this happened for you guys with Supergirl, with Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And that was frustrating where it felt completely unrelated. This, to me at least, it's the next part of this story. It is like a natural evolution of it. It's not like out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with it leading into his next event, especially because his event's meant to be his ending to his superhero run, and he's probably done with superhero comics for a while after this or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. It feels so unfulfilling as an issue. I got to I was not expecting that final panel to be the final panel. I turned like Matt was saying, you turn the page and it's like, wait a minute, what? That was it. That we've spent, because I've been saying for issues that this arc went on too long. That I was expecting this arc. I was ready for this arc to be done 3 or 4 issues ago, and we get to this final issue finally, and that's the final moment. Is just I'll come back for more. God damn you.
Yeah.
You could have gotten to this point issues ago. But, I mean...
Yeah.
It's been a frustrating run. It's been a lot of fun stuff in the run. It's not been... I think it's not been a bad comic. There's been a lot of good things in there. I've had some problems with it. But the... Ultimately, it's always going to be the connective tissue between Metal 1 and 2 now, as opposed to being a run that stands on its own.
Yeah, I think it's less a Justice League run and more Snyder's Justice League run is Metal through Justice League through Metal 2, whatever it's called,
right,
as an entirety, rather than just issues 1 through 40 odd of Justice League.
But Metal was also kind of a capper to his Batman run as well. It's kind of a weird.
I don't think it necessarily is. I mean, sure, there are little bits here or there, but nothing about that actually feels like a follow-on from his Batman run.
Not like Last Night on Earth did.
Sure.
No,
sure.
Like, that was more. You could start at Metal and read Metal this and presumably Metal 2 and get a complete run.
I just mean just how much of a Batman focus it was. It did bring up a few things. All the Batman, or the Dark Batman from the different.
But like generally speaking, if you're doing like an omnibus of Justice League by Scott Snyder, it's Metal through to Metal 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Man, I still want to know what the other tribes are up to, right? You have the Hawk tribe.
Yeah.
You have the Bear tribe, you have the Wolf tribe, right?
All right, let's be honest though, because of all the tie-ins, they're going to do a Metal omnibus, and then a Justice League omnibus, and then a Metal 2 omnibus, because there's probably going to be a ton of tie-ins to this next Metal as well. So you're getting 3 omnibuses whether you like it or not.
But
what were the tie-ins to Metal? Like you had the Hawkman one.
You had
the Forge.
all
those one-shots, all the Dark Batman
Yeah.
shots. There was a whole bunch of those.
Those were pretty egregious for tie-ins.
Yeah, there was like
some of them were
7
enjoyable,
of those.
but egregious all the same.
There was like 7 of those, plus the Hawkman thing, plus there was a reason, and then there was the 2 big one shots leading into Metal. So there's enough for an omnibus there.
The Forge and the something else like
casting.
There you go.
Yeah. So if not an omnibus, a really thick deluxe hardcover. There's definitely enough there for that.
Yeah, it's kind of a short omni, I think.
Yeah, but you know fine well there's going to be one shots and stuff for this new Metal too.
I think honestly it's probably 2 omnibuses worth in total. Yeah. Metal in the first half of Justice League, and then the back half of Justice League and Metal 2.
I don't think they'll split up with that though. I think
where do you put No Justice?
Oh yeah, that has to be included. Yeah, No Justice has to be.
That goes in between Metal and Justice League, doesn't it?
I think that's the start of your Justice League omnibus, I guess.
Unless you put that at the end of the Metal stuff, and then
possible.
You do all of Metal and all the tie-ins and No Justice.
If you include both Metals, all the tie-ins to both, No Justice, then I guess by that logic, it should probably just be Justice League by Snyder Volume 1 and 2, and do it that way. But
yeah,
my cynical part of me doesn't see it being split that way. Because of sales. I don't know. We're getting into nitty-gritty of something that's really not that relevant to what we're talking about. But Justice League 39 was fine, frustrating as a final issue, and frustrating as what it does to the continuity as a whole. Also,
I agree with all this. You know. I will say I got excited when the Quintessence showed up, just because I had brought them up for I forget why last week. And I got to that, I was like, oh shoot, weird.
Yeah. I think, fundamentally, I disagree with the things. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was not a conclusion, absolutely not. It is leading into the next part of the story. And yeah, it's a little frustrating. I have to wait a couple of months for that part of the story, but I'm looking forward to it all the same. I had a blast. I liked this issue, some spotty art aside.
I think it goes to me saying I was ready for the story to be done a few issues ago. Is that kind of also kind of extends to an extent to whatever they're doing next. Where I'm like, I'm ready for this to be done. I don't really need a whole event to finish this off. Like, I'm ready for this to be over so we can move on to other things and get to 5G. But I mean, the good thing about this is that having a few months off from Snyder's Justice League is that I'll probably not be as tired of it when it starts up. Yeah. So that's the plus to this.
And if we're looking at the, Chainsaw of Truth and whatnot, and
still love that.
Yeah, and it looks like she's got the Batman Who Laughs head on her belt there. Look at the.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of hope that with Venditti's run being set before all this, maybe it'll smartly just introduce a few elements that then we can call upon in Metal, like some. Here are some allies here or there. Maybe Snyder's kind of, hey, can you just do me a favor and kind of introduce a couple of little things, editorial, or pass it along, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Venditti has been really good at introducing stuff. Like we talked about how he has been one of the best at playing with the Doom symbol and the Dark Batman and all that sort of stuff. Like consistently, he's been really good at that. So if there is anyone I trust to introduce a couple of little bits and pieces here or there, Venditti has got my vote for that.
Yeah, mine too.
Did you get the exact Snyder quote? I've got it here.
It was before the entire run.
Before the entire run, okay. Because he says, no, just to be clear, Justice League 40 is a new story that's set before our run. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Shoot.
So
Which
yeah,
is interesting.
Yeah, that's 2 years ago. We're going back 2 years in terms of comics here to.
Yeah, and that's the bit I think is weird. We should have just no Justice League book for a few months, take the sales hit, but of course they don't want to do that.
No,
which is why I'm saying best case scenario, introduce a few elements.
I think they underestimate the value in letting us miss something for a little bit. Like how much were we desperate for Wally at the start of Rebirth because we didn't have Wally? Like, let us miss Justice League just for a couple months, so that when it comes back in this event, it feels special and it feels like a big deal. But of course,
I'm absolutely with you on that. But that's beyond editorial's control, even. Because
I guarantee you, we'd be a lot more willing, I think, to buy like tie-ins to events and stuff if, like, you know, we didn't feel as fatigued when we already got to the start of it. You know, like, you know. Yeah. They always try to flood us with books, and it does no one any good. Anyway, that's Justice League 39. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna give this a 7. Like, it's good, but like that last page, not that it made me upset, but I was just like, all right, well, when does this other one start now? That's perfectly fine.
Connor?
7.5. I really liked it. I'm excited for going forward. Knocking off points for some spotty art and just inconsistencies in that regard.
I'm going with a 6. There's got some good stuff in there. I do feel like the first half of it, though, is like could have been condensed heavily. I didn't necessarily know if I needed like as much of a speech from Martian Manhunter as he's doing his thing. So I felt a little bit drawn out in that sense. But my frustrations have been made clear. So 6 out of 10 from me. So that'll take me and Matt on to Action Comics 1019.
Oh, God.
Written by Brian Michael Bendis and art by John Romita Jr. And can I just say, this might be the worst JRJR art I've ever seen.
When Matt showed me a page, I think it was Matt that showed me the page.
Yeah.
I did not recognize said character without Matt's help.
Yeah, you didn't recognize Grodd. I'll say this, so Matt said, because Matt had clearly sent that page when he was only a couple of pages into the book, because when I went to read it, that was quite early on. That was not the worst. That was not the worst even that character looked in that book. Gorilla Grodd in this looks absolutely atrocious. I mean, all the characters look bad, but Gorilla Grodd especially, it looks atrocious in this.
So I opened this up, and I accidentally turned that page, and I was like, I know that's Cheetah, but why is she this standing there with Shaggy Man? Because he doesn't remotely look like a gorilla at all.
I'll say it. The art in this, to use a phrase from the Gullivar, this is garbage. Vargulish, I'm going with Matt.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and then the story too. I don't understand what's supposed to happen at the end. Is that Metropolis gone?
Oh my god! Even the cover looks terrible.
What is this book?
Lex looks terrible. So this is basically an issue because the end of the last issue revealed that Leviathan was working with the Legion of Doom during this big fight, and this issue is basically about how that came to be. It's all about the Legion of Doom and Leviathan meeting, and oh my god, Brainiac looks like a blow-up doll on the first page. Like, what the hell is happening? Like, the art in this is garbage. Like, I have nothing good to say about this. Like, I'll say this right now, before we even talk about the story or anything that's happening in this, the best this book can get from me when we get to ratings is a 5, because it's half the marks are gone already because of the art. Yeah. Like, it can't get anything higher than that because of the art. It's that bad.
Is that theoretically assuming that the writing is perfect?
Yes.
So it's half and half.
Yes. No, and that's not necessarily how I rate comics typically. I'm not saying that's how I always think of it, but in this case, the peak that this can get from me is a 5 because of this art.
God. I'm just looking through it right now, and there's that page where there's Superman and Lex. It's towards the end where Red Cloud gets involved. Mm-hmm. And it just looks so bad.
Also,
where they're face to face.
Sinestro doesn't look like Sinestro in this. He looks like he's trying to do the evil version of Spock from the Mirror World from Star Trek. Well, that's what I'm getting from it.
You're not wrong, especially on the page where he's talking to Leviathan, right? And Leviathan kind of earns his respect.
I present you.
There's like a smirk.
For the video people, I present you the worst.
I need to pay attention.
The worst panel of the book. It's a low angle shot of Grodd, and I know the lighting's not great on this, but
yeah, Matt, screenshot me that.
You know what, hon? Do you know what?
I'll get you.
I'm going to turn down the brightness, hon.
He looks like he has a rectangle head.
Right.
So I had just planned to sit here and play The Binding of Isaac, but I can't miss this.
Look at that! Look at that!
What? That's not Grod.
That sounds like a
that's
euphemism. The Binding of Isaac.
It is a fantastic game that I happened to pick up on my Switch this week.
What happened? It's like an anvil fell on his head and flattened his head.
It's like the third time I bought this game, but I just love it.
It's terrible. Shut up about your game. We've got bad art to tear it to shreds.
Well, you're distracting me from it with all the terrible art.
Yeah. So basically, Lex wants to meet at Leviathan because he's impressed. They measure their egos a little bit, and basically come up with this plan. Like, hey, and they get him to introduce them to Red Cloud, and Lex is like, hey, you almost killed him. If we weaken him first, can you finish the job? Do you think you'd be able to do it if you have the full Legion of Doom and Leviathan behind you? And that seems to be what this fight that we keep cutting to in the future is. It's like the final plan ends up being, hey, we're going to fight in Metropolis because he'll hold back because it's it's in the city and yada yada yada. There's a page where during the fight Lex blasts Superman with all of his energy, and it's just this wall of lines coming from the vertical middle of Lex. It's weird.
Is this?
I was like, is he moving in? Is he? Yeah, his Apex sucks. Yeah. Is he? I thought, is he moving in super speed? Is that what that's supposed to be?
No, I think
it's a motion blur. No, but it's a blast.
Yeah, it's an energy blast.
Yeah,
I don't get it either. And Leviathan's head looks so chunky in Romita's art.
JR does that mask no favors. Like when you saw the original art in the mini, you're like, oh, that's a kind of cool mask. It's a little bit too much, but I get it.
See when it cut to Red Cloud character, good. See when it cut to her, I was like, who's this? Because she looks nothing like she is. She's like, and I was like, oh, it's maybe her because of the hair, but she looks so different to every other version of her up until now. As an issue, it's fine. It's this one of these things where it's here to just set up how the villains met each other, and the story and the writing for that is fine, right? But it's really hard to ignore the art. It's hard not to just read this and be miserable because the art looks this bad.
Yep. It's very hard to read. But no, definitely that last page, that's supposed to be Metropolis being destroyed, right?
Yeah, the middle is basically all out of destruction because of this fight, yeah.
Yeah.
I am absolutely in awe of how bad this issue was, and not because of Ben. I think that Ben, it's not the best issue because typically sometimes these villain issues are tend to be some of my least favorite of a run, but they're kind of necessary little evils of okay, here's just to explain how this came to be, right. And it's fine in that respect. There's a couple of nice moments where Lex is impressed with what Leviathan's done, and the writing's fine. The writing's it's not amazing, but it's fine.
No, and you get the point that Red Cloud feels like she's in over her head as she's watching the two super teams go to battle, and she's just kind of watching from afar in her full on demon form. So there's some nice moments there, but yeah, it was not good to read.
I would rather Brett Booth had done the issue. That's how bad this is.
Yeah, I don't like JRJR, and that sucks because I get that people do like him, but this is I even if you do like JRJR, I would think you'd look at this issue and go.
But yeah, do people who typically like JRJR, do they like this issue? Because his first, because the first 3 issues of Silencer were JRJR, and I didn't like the art in that, but it was better than this.
Well,
it was
Kick-Ass. No, and you look at Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass has some pretty decent art, and it's JRJR. Or the first time I remember reading a full-on JRJR book was Wolverine Wanted, right, way back in the day, and that looked good. You could tell it was JRJR. This is like someone doing a bad JRJR impersonation, but it's JRJR. So, yeah.
Yep.
It's bad.
What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm giving this a 4. I did not like it.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3. 3 out of 10 from me. This I did not like reading this, and usually if the art's mediocre and the writing's good, I can get past that and just enjoy the book for what it is. This was an example of the art being so extremely bad that I actually just did not like reading it at all. So the quicker we get past this arc, because I don't really like this arc anyway, but I especially don't like the Romita art. So the quicker we can get out of this and back to because action was better than Superman for the first 12 or whatever issues it was.
Definitely.
So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. Luckily, Superman's been very good right now, so at least there's some good stuff going on. But that is Action Comics. That'll take us on then to The Flash. Oh, it's a lot of cheery, happy books that we're all positive about this weekend.
Hey, I was positive about Justice League.
Flash 87. I meant as a collective, all right? You were the exception to that one. Flash 87, Joshua Williamson writing with Christian Duce on the art. My first positive for this, actually, would be that I think Duce's art in this is probably better than the books had recently.
So here's my quick take, and I'm not going to ramble on.
Sorry, you're saying Duce is better than Sandoval?
For Flash.
For the Flash.
For the Flash, yeah.
So this is what I'll say. I feel like finally Captain Cold feels like Captain Cold. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like he has that grumpy demeanor there, and he's calling Barry nerd, and he sussed out that he's a cop just based off of actions and stuff. And then we get to the part with Pied Piper showing up and magically fixing everybody with harmonics.
Yeah, I felt really quick and rushed. I agree. Yeah, there you go.
I think I'm over Flash right now, and it sucks. It sucks because I want to know what's going on with Paradox, but I don't want to keep wasting twice a month on this, you know. So I think this is where I get off the bus right now.
Oh, is that actually dropping it?
Yeah, I think so. I can't. I gave up the Flash under Venditti for way worse than this. For way less, I should say.
Yeah. I do think this issue is better than the last batch.
But I mean, I think even then, like, it undoes some of the stuff that we did, like Golden Glider is like, oh, she's just straight back to cold. Like,
yeah, no,
really?
that annoyed me. There was a couple of beats I liked. I didn't really necessarily like Cold saying "stay away from my sister," but I did like the little comedy moment in the couch where Iris, she got her, like, they sat down with some tea, and she's like, "So we're going to talk about Golden Glider." Like, I did actually kind of get a little chuckle out of that moment. It was kind of a funny little beat.
I wish we'd seen why they were going to Arkham. I know Barry says, "Oh, well, yeah, we're just going to Arkham to keep us separate from it." But there's no moment from the police getting to that conclusion or anyone. It's just, "Oh, we're just going to Arkham." Like, I don't know. I didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
There was no,
I mean, they can't go to Iron Heights because Iron Heights is all jacked up from stuff. But then again, they could take him to Belle Reve, right?
Yeah, and they go,
we can't go to Blackgate.
They go, we can't go to Blackgate because Golden Glider's there, and we can't be near Golden Glider. I'm like,
why?
Yeah, well, why?
Yeah.
Well, she shows up anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, but the whole point, you'd put them in separate cells anyway, so what difference did it make?
I mean, and I actually kind of like how they tease Paradox at the end. I don't like this Flash from the future because I didn't like Year One.
Oh, so I groaned.
Yeah,
like, genuinely out loud.
I did groan. I do kind of like, though, him sort of like doing the crisis thing, you know, where he kind of
fading away.
Yeah, I do like that part of it. I like the idea of
it's a nice touch.
Yeah,
and this is where I guess you could say this is my own paradox, where I'm over it, but I'm curious to see where it goes. Because there's stuff like and just the way that Williamson brings up Commander Cold's death again, I don't really feel he's actually dead, but because he seemed too important. But then again, there's better ways to get rid of him throughout that last arc. Like, I just feel like I don't know if Williamson's just been distracted because Nailbiter's coming back, right?
Don't know.
And Flash just, I don't know, is he getting his 100% or what? But
I mean, we never really talked about it in the news, but with Tynion, this is his last issue of Justice League Dark because Batman is double shipping still, even though when he took it, it was announced as, hey, it was going to single shipping, so he thought he could do both.
Right.
And it's, and he kind of made that decision as he can't commit enough energy to both. And I wonder if Williamson's kind of got that where, of course, his energy naturally goes towards his own passion project, his own creator-owned thing, more than this. And he's just kind of getting through the year now until this story is done.
Since I would say, like, when the Force stuff started a little bit dodgy, but it wasn't terrible. Then Year One happens, and it hasn't been the same since.
Yeah.
Like, that's where my cutoff is Year One. But up until that point, up until the Force War or whatever, it was one of my favorite books DC was putting out. Like, it was a joy to read, even when it was a little bit silly, or even the shade shadow stuff. Like, oh, it's 2 issues, we're done. Like
it's kind of frustrating that it's took a similar trajectory to King's Batman in that the first like 50 or so issues, sure, great, minor nitpicks here or there, but yeah, sure.
Right.
And then it's like okay, and that's where we get like the Force War stuff here, and then year 1 is King's Nightmares. That's that's the parallel here. Yeah. And I don't think it's ever going to recover after that.
No, and it looks. I know I'm the Johns fanboy here, but I have so much more respect for Johns.
Can I just? I want to interject just on that parallel with King's Batman. Is that I actually think this Flash has gotten worse than King's Batman did.
Yeah.
I think while King's Batman at the end had a lot of problems, I think it felt more spiritually still connected to what King was doing than what this Flash is compared to what I liked about Flash before.
Yeah. I agree with that, but that's what I feel like. The really special writers of the world, the Bendises, the Johns, right?
I can feel Connor wince there.
There was an eyebrow raised.
Hold on.
You have
the Morrisons, the ones that can be on titles for a long time, and it never. You were right. There's a very thought out plan. Right, and that's how Bendis got to 100 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, right? Like
more than
he knew what he wanted. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. That was like hundreds of good mark for me to go off of. Whereas with Johns and all his Green Lantern saga, right, it really wasn't until New 52 when it started to feel like it was going off the rails, and then he got 20 issues into that, and that was it. But even from there, we had Jessica Cruz introduced, and he was doing other things for Rebirth at that time. And so I look at these other writers and just seeing how much they've done, because I think what was Morrison's by the time Batman was done between the minis and
it wasn't as high as 100, but it was
it's 3 omnibuses worth.
Yeah, so like, and there was a plan there as you go through it, so
I think the key difference between we're talking about Morrison and Johns, and I haven't read enough Bendis to know, and I don't want to use Ultimate Spider-Man because I think that's a little bit different. With Morrison and Johns, they have vague outlines, like they'll tease things years in advance, but they don't know exactly what they're going to do. They know, I've got an idea, I'll get to it, and we'll kind of take some detours along the way. But they manage to find that idea still at the end and come through, whereas King's Batman, okay, that first arc we ended with the Gotham Girl and be like, well, and then Bruce Wayne died or whatever it was, and that was just forgotten about. That was just gone.
Yeah, never came up again.
And there are things like that just don't work. And
I mean, there's a chance that'll pop up in Batman Catwoman, but I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I think like with King, I'm excited for anything. At 12 issues or less, I'm still excited. You tell me he's on a book going to do 100 issues, I go, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure he has it in him now.
So, and I also feel like the double shipping is what's killing it too.
Yeah, actually,
it's just too much.
That's an interesting actual parallel. Is like, what is King's 100 issue run of Batman if it was single shipping the entire time? Like, it would be. I mean, there's no way of doing this, but it'd be very interesting if we could compare those two versions and see which one.
Yeah, it has to be more economical. I feel, because again, that's how I feel. Like, I didn't love all of Johns' Green Lantern, right? But being that it was only coming out once a month, it felt like that issue had to land more, right? Or I remember being disappointed when something didn't work out. I mean, the way I wanted.
Do you think for a second that Nightmares would have been 7 issues, 7 months long?
Nope.
Yes.
No. I don't.
I do.
I think it would have been 3 at most. And it would have been the 3 best issues.
Of the run? That's bold.
No, of Nightmares.
No. Honestly, I think it still is at least 5 or 6, even monthly. I think King was so critically acclaimed, and he'd got enough pull with the editors that he was kind of being given free rein to a point at that time. It wasn't until after Nightmares where the sales really started going down and people started reacting the other way, en masse, of course. There was always people who were not into it. So I think, I think it still would have been fairly lengthy. Because stylistically, I don't think much changed. Like if you read some of the early issues as opposed to some of the later issues, they don't feel that different. So I don't think it's just because of double shipping, because I think if you read his Mr. Miracle, in terms of the writing style and the amount of content, I don't think it's that different overall.
No.
Which is why I don't think it is massively different on a monthly schedule. At least not for King's Batman. Flash might be. That might be more different.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking not so much the writing quality. I'm thinking more about things being set up and then not paid off. Things like that. Things where the planning is changed. Because we're talking about how all these things came up and then never went anywhere and things like that. Like, if there's time to really, if he had twice as much time to work in each issue early on, those early issues, is the planned stuff more thought out? Is things like that. Like,
okay.
There's a possibility. That it does benefit from that. Would it be such a big improvement that it would really be worth rewriting history to make it happen? I don't know. It might be only a 10% improvement, for example, as opposed to some night and day thing that's worth arguing about. Because ultimately, it might not actually make that much of a difference to where it's worth sort of criticizing DC in the future if the Tynion's run is going to be double shipping now when it maybe wasn't before. Is it worth critiquing that? Maybe in the sense that it's taking him off another book that you wanted him on, but other than that, is it going to affect the quality of Batman itself? The art's definitely something that's up for debate, but we're not really talking about art. We're talking about writing quality here.
No.
Yeah, we're talking about coming from that one person first, because I think art is a very tangible, obvious thing we can point to and see what double shipping has caused. Batman already has had artist changes, and we can point to these and see them. We can see them in Flash. We could see them in King's Batman as fill-ins here. Or very fortunate in that there were rarely any bad artists. To be honest with you, we were lucky in that regard. But you can tangibly point to fill-ins. I mean, even down to the start of the book where it was announced as, "Hey, we're doing two artists." It was Janin and Finch. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And okay, if this is monthly, it's probably just Janin. You probably never have that in the first case. It's announced as one artist, and that's it for a while. You might have an odd issue off here or there, so we can have a break, but you don't have these full extended arcs of someone else is doing this for this arc.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. It makes me sad as a Flash fan. Now this is the second time I'm going to stop reading Flash, and let's see if I hear from you guys.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to say, let's see when the next issue comes out if Matt actually gives it up, or if he just reads it out of habit.
I took it off my list at the shop.
Oh,
so
yeah, but digital's still a thing.
It is, but I have to have restraint. I had to buy a new water heater this week, so I had a very stressful week, and that's cutting into some stuff.
I hope something happens in the Flash this next issue. Not that it's good per se, but a character appears or something. I can just say to Matt, "Hey, this character appeared," and Matt's like, "Damn it, I need to read it."
Although that said, if I wait and get them on it, maybe there'll be a sale, and it won't be as much of a financial burden. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So I think I'm done.
On the issue itself, Pete, I suspect this Paradox is not the same character we read about in whatever issue we just did on previously in the Multiverse.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I remember we hadn't looked ahead at the solicits much in this. We were just like, oh yeah, there's a character called Paradox coming up, and whatever issue we just read had a character called Paradox as the villain. And we were like, maybe it's the same thing. It's been brought back and reworked.
And the paradox in that issue of Wally's Flash that we just read in previously, which by the way, every other week previously in the Multiverse, new show, go check it out. But it had a really cool power set where he could speed up and slow down time in specific areas. So one of the things that he would do is that as the Flash was running to him, he would speed up time in a circle on the floor, and the building they're in, because it's basically thousands of years later, as far as this little bubble of time in the floor was concerned, the floor just crumbled beneath his feet because it had been there for thousands of years. So,
and the dude was psychotic. One of his favorite things to do, he claimed, was to speed up one half of a person's body so that half of them would age horrifically and the other one would just not. Just
is
that contrast.
Is he the guy all in white?
I can't remember.
That sounds familiar.
You guys just read it.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've read a lot of comics since then.
Yeah, do you have any
first appearance is Flash Annual Volume 2, number 4?
Yes, that's the one.
That's him. All right.
Yeah, I suspect this is not that Paradox.
No.
Which is a shame.
No, because when you Google Flash Villain Paradox, the first thing that comes up, the first hit, is Williamson's all-new version. Yeah. So, debuting in Flash 88.
Joy.
Yes. So, yeah, Flash
I think Matt is probably making the smart choice here.
Probably. I'm seeing it to the end. As much as...
See, but that was the difference with King. I could understand King's Batman, where it was going, and where I don't know where this is going. Like, I don't see a clean way.
I think the difference as well, King's, we knew 100 issues. 100 issues and he's done, and then it was cut shorter, but we got the other mini. But we always knew that. Williamson has never stated 100 issues I'm done. We're just assuming come 5G he's off and there's someone else and they're kind of fresh start.
I'm pretty confident.
I know I am as well, but there's never actually been a statement of I know what my story is for 100 issues or anything like that. It kind of does feel like he's just making it up as he goes along.
I will be shocked if he's still in the book next year. At least, like, I think by the time we hit the start of 2021, if he's not already off the book, we'll know that he's leaving in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, probably.
But that'd be my guess. Matt, what are you giving this issue?
4.5.
Connor?
4.
I guess I'll be Mr. Positive. I'll give it a 5. So...
And I realized I started out by saying it wasn't that bad, but I'm just... My will...
You're in a mood.
Yeah,
You're in a mood with Flash now. Yes.
Yeah.
You're feeling grumpy. So much positivity in the books this week.
Can we talk about something positive next, please?
Well,
whatever it was going to be, just change it.
Well, I don't know if this is positive, but it's Justice League Dark 19, James Tynion the 4th with Alvaro Martinez.
Yeah, that's pretty positive. We should mention as well, in case you've not read this book yet, there was a printing error if you picked the stuff in print. Some of the pages are out of order. Don't ask how. It happens occasionally, and it's frustrating when it does. The digital version is correct, so yeah. Sorry, guys, if you picked it up in print and you were a bit confused.
Yeah. So I read it. So I fell asleep reading this the other night, so I had to read it again. But I read it digitally, so it's fine.
There are worse things in life.
Yeah. I really gonna miss Tynion on this book. I don't know when his last one is, but I know
This is it.
Ram V's taken over.
Yeah, this is the last time in issue.
Yeah. I'm gonna miss him. I like what he leaves the state of magic in.
This does issue? Feel like he knew writing this was his last one, because it opens. We're cut in between two time periods, a week apart, and it's Kirk interviewing Diana. In 1 week in the future, and we're cutting back to the action and stuff as it goes on. But the end of this first page is, Kirk saying, in short, what is magic? And that feels like the thesis of okay, Tynion's rest of this as this was his 19-20 issue run, whatever, including the other bits. That's what he was questioning, and he doesn't answer everything. He doesn't leave all the threads tied up. We still have all the other kind to deal with. He's left that for Ramby to deal with as he sees fit. He said this in his newsletter this week. If you want to go and check that out, he basically said, "Hey, it sucks I didn't get to do it because he wanted to, but Batman, which I get, and he didn't tell Ramby like, oh, this is what I had planned. It's just like, hey,
these are the seeds. You go grow your
do what you want with it, but just please don't ignore it all." Which I appreciate that. But the actual issue. So I mean, a lot of great action.
Yeah, so we get the finale of the fight between Cersei's in Justice League Dark, which she officially calls them, which I thought was good. And you can kind of tell this. I don't want to say it was rushed, but I feel like he had more planned for some of this because it ends very abruptly. But in the best way possible, I think he sticks the landing where, it looks like Cersei's going to win, right? And then Diana, with the deal she made with Upside Down Man, comes out through. But she's fully, I guess, you don't want to say possessed by Hecate, but it's Diana in 3 forms, right? Like Hecate. And they start going to war with Cersei, and they go through the Injustice League Dark. And like probably the part of that made me laugh the most was when they told Papa Midnight,
It's like, look, you can feel how powerful I am. Do you really want to go there?
Yeah. No,
I surrender.
I don't. I surrender. And Clarion takes Zombie Grundy
And just runs off.
And runs off. And Cersei's looking at everything falling apart. And even Floronic Man's kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'm done. Although I feel like he's going to be the bridge to the next story arc.
Given that Ramvi did the Parliament of Flowers annual, which I should probably go back and read now that he's taken over the book. You should.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So we see, Diana with the power of Hecate come back and basically help Cersei come to terms with magic, right? Like, yes, you wanted to win, but at what cost? Magic's something that's meant to be shared. You're kind of hoarding it, and at first it looks like Cersei's going to give in, right? And then no, she decides that she's going to attack Diana with Eclipso and the Black Diamond, and it cuts her, and we see Diana possessed by Eclipso. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it does look great, doesn't it? The art is fantastic. There are some wonderful colors. Who's the colors? Brad Anderson doing an incredible job.
I also like how the triple Diana deals with the dragon, where it's like, you're just reanimated bones back from when she came. Yeah, and turns them into treasure. Which
that page with the gorgeous layout of Fate as Khalid now shows up in the middle, and some incredible layout work, and it's kind of fixing the things that have been gone wrong. That's the page that was in the wrong place. It was actually like 2 or 3 pages earlier in the printed edition than it should have been.
Okay.
Which that wouldn't have been good.
But so Khalid shows back up to save everybody from Eclipso.
And Kent's like, oh man, what the hell did you do?
What'd you do? He goes, no, it's fine. And he's basically, he had made the deal with Naboo that, no, you work for me now. This is how we're going to do this. Yeah. I'm trying to see where he says all of this.
Yeah, it's Naboo talking, saying his host has shown him there's still work to do to contain chaos. I've given him control, and he has the power.
Yeah, but no, that layout with him where you see it makes a pentagram, not a pinnacle, and whatnot, and so Diana reaches out to Cersei, and it's on this realm, but it's not just the realm she was on the moon. Like, there's waterfalls and everything, and it's
gorgeous. Yeah,
she gives Cersei magic and says, "You're now the guardian. Protect it."
And this actually, I know last week in Wonder Woman 750, we were like, "This doesn't feel like the Cersei we've been reading. This feels like the first step towards that Cersei."
Yep. So, and she's like, "Well, this is kind of what I wanted, but I'll always double cross you."
And she's like, "Well, yeah. We'll see, but I'm not going to trust you just to have all this magic out in the wild. Come on, you can stay here until I feel like I can trust you some more."
Yeah. So not only do they contain Cersei, they basically Dorian Gray her and place her into a mirror that's laced with the Black Diamond, and nth metal from Dr. Blate's helmet.
Yeah. And Zatanna's like, "Damn, this is impressive."
Yeah, good job. Yeah. Also, Bobo coming to his senses and be like, "Look, I know I'm a chimp, but I'm civilized. Where's my clothes?
Yeah.
Why am I not wearing pants?"
The first time, he's like, "Why the F am I naked? What the hell's going on?"
I might be a chimpanzee, but I'm not a nudist.
And you've got Kogo. Khalid, sorry, I think I tried to eat you. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Yep. And so now Papa Midnight's gonna be kind of staying around because, like, we're going to need your help in dealing with this. You helped create this mess. And Khalid's now Fate, so we'll have him and Kent Nelson. And I like that. It's very magical Firestorm almost. Because you have Kent Nelson, who's been with Naboo forever. And he knows the magic. And then you have Khalid, who's still learning, but has Naboo's trust more than Kent ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Diana tells him about the deal that she made with Upside Down Man, and that she might have doomed us all, but there's only one way to see,
and we're in the Oblivion Bar, and Deadman's there now as well.
Yep. You have Deadman, you have Tracy 13 there still, And who's the guy in the suit?
Yeah, I wasn't sure on that either because Constantine's up at the other end.
Yeah,
it looks like it could be Jason Blood, maybe.
that's what I was thinking too. But yeah, but so if we were going this chronologically, so the week later, Man-Bat's interviewing her about what magic is, and he kind of goes through what everyone else says that magic is, and this is why I like Tynion, is he really does think about the mind space of all the other characters.
Yeah, it's not just his opinion; it's what would this person think.
Right, and I'm trying to get to that page where
it's pretty early on, I think.
Yeah. Just what is magic? Let's go back.
Yeah, here we go. Bobo called it a curse. Khalid called it a burden, and Zatanna just gave him a look, and he was pretty horrified by it.
Which to me is what was that look? Is that she's like?
It's a don't go there. You're not ready sort of look.
Right. So, and then and then for him it's a science, right? Yeah. And for Diana, it basically becomes magic. It's the impossible made possible.
Yeah, it's. She would say it's wonder, right? But then we come back a little bit later, and she goes, "But I can't call it wonder. That would be a lie because there's too much of a darkness to its edge. You know, it's power, power and fear. The universe. Yeah,
and that's what she's learned through this. There's nothing that feels as good or as right as wielding that power. And there's nothing in my life that I feared more. And again, that's what makes her Wonder Woman.
Definitely.
And I'm glad that Tynion has such a grasp on characters and team settings. Like, this boils down to a conversation with Man-Bat, right? Who's approaching this at a scientific level. And she's just kind of like, well, it's not necessarily science. It's
magic. Essentially.
You can't look at it at that way. And then so, towards the end, we get a hint that, you know, there's stuff stirring in the green in the Parliament, and the tease for the next storyline is that it says the Parliament of Life.
Yeah, and, because on that big page where they're fixing everything, they're trying to fix it. You know, okay, they put Bobo and Kirk back, but Swamp Thing, she says you can't reach him. Only sense the faintest trace in the green, and Kelly's like, right, okay, well, problem for another day. Just do what we can now. But it is okay. That's something that we're going to get back to, and I wasn't even sure we'd get at this issue, but it is no. That's the next thing. We are going to go find Swamp Thing in the Parliament, by the sounds of it.
Which makes sense with Ram V, because he did the Floronic Man issue.
Yep.
And set that up. So that's where we're going to go. So yeah, Tynion leaves it in a nice, neat place. I like the idea of the Upside Down Man's not done, right? But done for now.
There's an art in leaving a book with thread still going for someone to pick up, but still giving it an ending in its own right. Because I think a lot of comic traders have a tendency to want to put the toys back in the box where they found them for someone else to have their turn with what they think of their story. Whereas this is more no, I've done my bit. I've done most of a story. Mm-hmm. Now it's your turn to pick up some of the things I didn't finish off, and there is an art to that. I
always say Morrison. Most of Morrison's stuff's not for me, but he is really a master at that, like creating Professor Pig, and then just having Professor Pig
so that someone can use him later.
Exactly, so or just the concept of Talia and Leviathan, like look what Bendis has done with Leviathan since, and as far as I know, that was Morrison's creation for her to get out from Ra's al Ghul's shadow. So
I think so.
Yeah. So there is an art to it.
The entirety of the Silencer only exists because of that.
Right.
In a roundabout way, and it is leaving those threads in a way that I've told a story with them, but it's not done.
Right.
And that's what we've got here. No, this is a great issue. I'm sad to see Tynion leave because
Me too.
It's been consistently one of my favorite books for the last nearly 2 years now.
Yep.
I hope Ramsey is anywhere near as good.
Yeah. So what you rating it?
I have this an 8.5.
Yeah, me too. Weird. I don't like when we line up because you're way more consistent than I am. So
yeah.
All right. Can I finally be positive? I want to be positive. let's talk about Suicide Squad issue 2 by none other. Where's my button? How did it cut off?
So for those that don't know, we can't hear this. So just hearing Pete.
It's doing a thing. It's like cutting off like halfway through for some reason. It's never done this before.
He's broken his button.
Tom Taylor.
Finally, it went through. It took like 3 tries. I don't know why. Anyway, Tom Taylor's right with Bruno Redondo on the art. And this is the squad's first mission. They're told to go in and kill a president who's refusing to leave even though he lost because they want their appointed president to be put in place.
Right.
This doesn't feel foreshadowing at all.
No. So they have to split, and half the team's gonna go with Harley to secure, the new president, or to secure the old president, right? And the other half are gonna go with Deadshot to get the new president. Granted, I read this when I was super tired, so I might be missing stuff.
Well, it starts off with a tease of what happens. The president there is certain, then actually gets shot at the end. It looks like they're ambushed. And this is all kind of a tease because at the end of the issue, we find out that this is a fake ambush where the big character from the new young...
Oh, Sita.
Sita, there you go. She basically...
Revolutionaries.
She takes like the bad guy's machine gun and shoots herself and just talks as if they're being ambushed. So it's an ambush and one of our teammates says something.
Oh.
And Deadshot's just kind of standing watching like, what the hell? And then eventually this president dude just begs, no, I'm here to be the person that's put in place. Don't kill me, please don't kill me. And then, she kills him and just goes, shh, to Deathstroke.
To Deadshot.
So Deathstroke, sorry, not Deathstroke. And it's just a fun little moment where like they're obviously they're still doing their own little political, activism in their own way within Suicide Squad, even though they've been warned by this new, boss that, he'll kill them.
I forget his name.
Yeah, because there's a fight at the start actually between Finn and Shark because Shark's like, hey, I ate your brother and you can't telepathically feel him anymore. He's taunting him. It's just good stuff.
And he's like, there's only like 5 inches of glass between us, so you go the same way as your brother. And Finn just punches through it.
Yeah.
And the way that he says too, like, this is what it felt like to eat your brother. Well, he tastes terrible, but I like the way he wiggled.
Yeah.
He's like, Taylor, you sick SOB.
Yeah, and all the dialogue is great. Harley mouthing off, and the boss just like silencing her with some tech, is just good stuff. Like all the way the banter back and forth, it just feels so natural and smooth. It just flows. And the art's really good. I think Redondo's art's really clean.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so cartoony expressive. Some great colors as well. I don't know who's on colors.
Yeah, see when they're in the helicopter, because there's a whole joke where the one who has wings is afraid to fly.
Right.
And Deadshot's like, wait, what? You've got wings? And she's like, yeah, no, I like to fly. I don't like being inside a metal bucket that's got flammable fuel that could blow up at any, And then they all teleport out there and leave him on the helicopter on his own.
As it's being shot down. Yeah.
So there's a great bit of color in there as the bullets are going through the cockpit. You see like it turns red instead of blue for the next guy.
Adriana Lucas is doing the colors.
Yeah, really good.
It happens a few times, even on that very first page with the credits. There's stark white backgrounds, and then the red of the with the gunshot in the middle of that page. It just stands out so much.
Yeah, absolutely. This is this was the book I was looking forward to the most this week, and it's so weird that I'm this excited about a Suicide Squad book, but that's what happens when you put our Lord and Savior Tom Taylor on a book.
We will be excited about any book he does, no matter what. You can give me the shittiest premise of any book, and tell me Tom Taylor is writing it, and I will go, I'll take 5 copies, please, sir.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to go back and read Injustice just because of now.
I actually started.
I started it.
The first 6 issues, and it's good.
Yeah, it is. It's still not my thing, but
it just like I've said this before, but Suicide Squad's a concept that I've just never really been that in love with, and immediately he just made it work for me. No, admittedly, I've never read the classic Suicide Squad stuff, and I'm still excited about the new movie because it's also
he introduced all these new characters too, right? Which I think that helps. Because he's already telling people this is not going to be like a typical Suicide Squad, and I do feel like sometimes it goes when they start a new Suicide Squad book, they try to make it too close to stuff that's come before, and I got to give Taylor credit that he's like, no, I'm doing my
Suicide
Suicide Squad.
Something different, yeah. And
Yep.
like I say, I've not read any of the classic, like the Ostrander stuff.
Yeah.
But that might actually be quite good.
Maybe. I've tried New 52. I tried Rebirth.
Yeah.
Tried.
I liked 4 issues of the New 52 book when Cott took over
Yeah,
and then was left.
Here's a detail that I love. I love at the end when she kills the president dude and says shush, because obviously they're going through the motions because they can hear everything they're saying, right? And they're in a tunnel, so they can't be seen right now, but they can still be heard because all their chips have audio transmitters in them.
Yeah, they're on comms.
And Deadshot looks genuinely quite scared before she does the shush thing. And all I can think about is the idea of Deadshot and Harley and maybe some of the other like OG Suicide Squad members next issue being like, these assholes are going to get us killed because he threatened us. He said he was going to blow us all up, and he's so far he's proven to be quite willing to do it. He doesn't tolerate what Waller did. He's much more militant about it.
Well, and this is the price of that guy bringing in a team. Instead of, Waller brought in individuals that were forced to work together for their own greater good. Now you have the revolutionaries coming in, and I was like, well, no, you guys killed us. We're going to take some casualties as well.
They're a pre-established unit that with their own agenda already, whereas generally speaking, you can throw Deadshot, Harley, Shark, and pick any others together, and they might become a team over time, sure. Like, we just, Peter said the OG squad in this context, because Harley and Deadshot definitely have some familiarity and a team bond because they've had they've worked together for a while now. These guys have their own team bond already, and you've just thrown that in the mix. And I think there's more of them than there is original members as well.
I don't think that's something we consider when we read the first issue. This dynamic that's been created here, where because they do have this camaraderie already, it does make the OG Suicide Squad members kind of the outnumbered, like odd people out. And what sort of situation does that put them in? That now they're just kind of like tagged along for this ride where they're going to try and get away with all this shit because they're going to try and use this to their advantage as best they can. And what sort of danger does that put them in? So, I mean, credit where credit is due. We did go an issue here without any of the squad members being killed.
Right, but when it opened, that's not what I was thinking. I was like, oh man, Taylor's already thrown us into the wood chipper here. With some of the new characters.
Yeah, we had some great deaths last issue, so I'm don't get me wrong. They'll be back before long, but
And I appreciate that. I still wasn't sure that no one was going to die. I was like, no one's dying in this issue. I was like, hey, it's really possible. And sure, no one died in this issue, but going into issue 3, I'm going, someone could die in this issue. I believe that.
He would have to go issues and issues and issues with no one dying before I started to not feel like it's possible. Like it is.
Right.
Basically, Deadshot and Harley feel safe.
Yes.
Harley
and Zebraman.
Deadshot.
Zebraman's not safe.
He's safe for now.
There's like a 10% chance they'll let him kill Deadshot. There is a very small chance.
Yeah.
But all the others are fair game.
Harley's the only one 100% they will never let him touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, the country they went to is Badisnia, which is where the Flash story took place with the mental force. The wisdom
Sage,
there you go.
With
the Sage Force, where they had to go undercover because all the bad guys and whatnot. So that's fun. So of course that place would be installing a puppet dictator.
I love that between this ongoing and Deceased getting a sequel, it feels like Taylor's veering more towards DC this last 6 months or so, right? It feels like he's
coming home.
Yeah. Yes, it's a new home that he didn't know he should have had, but he should have had it all along. And
I like that he's doing like a lot of team books. I want to see him on a solo book at DC because Deceased is basically a team book. This is a team book. Injustice was a team book for all intents and purposes. I want to see him on a solo character, and we've seen the odd issue of Batman.
I think we'll get it. I think what's great about all the stuff he's doing is that it is all kind of side stuff. Suicide Squad is the most prolific thing he's done so far in terms of being a mainline thing. I do think this feels like the perfect kind of grooming to me, where in a couple of years' time, when they announce he's the new writer on Batman or Superman or Justice League, it's going to feel like, oh shit, they're finally giving it to him. They're giving him one of these big, boots, or even like Flash or like whoever, even Supergirl, like because he did that Supergirl, short story in one of those anthology books, and it was like one of the best short stories I'd ever read.
I mean, I'm okay if you want to take Orlando off Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, put him on Wonder Woman. That's fine.
I love how we're just giving him more work.
Let's be honest though. Is there a book right now that you would go, no, absolutely not. Do not take them off that to put Tom Taylor on it. Because for me, I think there's any book, even the ones I'm enjoying a lot, I'm like, I mean, you want to give me Tom Taylor? You know, they'll get 6 issues to finish off the story.
What else am
All
I...
right, well, if they're getting 6 issues, fine.
They get 6 issues from now to finish off the story.
You're not touching
Yeah.
Hawkman. And you're not touching Superman right now. But the other ones, I can't say you're not wrong.
Hold on, I'm just trying to think of what else I'm really liking right now.
Out of interest, Matt, when you say Superman there, are you including action as well? Or like Bendis keeps action and Taylor can have Superman?
No. Just because of how it keeps trading importance. As of right now, Superman's the important one, whereas action was before.
So you want Bendis to keep one of them and Taylor would get the other? Okay.
Yeah. But
no, I honestly, thinking about it, I don't think there is a book right now where I wouldn't have, as long as I get to finish the story.
Yeah, they're not taking off it immediately.
Yeah.
Like it's not like the next issue is Taylor. They're given, the regular amount that they're told, hey, you're off this book now to finish up.
Do you know what the funny thing is that, between, a weird zombie like Elseworld and Suicide Squad, they've also kind of proven to me now at this point that I can't even be that disappointed if, let's say, they announce him on something like, I don't know, like Tom Taylor's going to be the new writer on Red Hood, right? That sounds like a slap in the face at face value, but at this point, he's proven that every time he's on something I don't care about, he makes it gold. He makes it work.
All right, we know that he's good with comedy, so him writing Bizarro alone, I'd be okay with. Yeah, like, again, I don't hate the idea of Red Hood by itself, but you put that writer on there.
Admittedly, there's 100 million things I'd rather write than Red Hood, but
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not.
Red Hood.
I'm not reading Red Hood because it's Red Hood. I'm not reading it because who's attached to it. That's why.
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah. Red Hood could have been an answer to that FPS character.
Oh god. Do I really want his wisecracks every time I shoot something in an FPS? I don't think so.
You do if they're written by Tom Taylor.
Yeah. And who knows? Who knows what's going on in Red Hood? I mean, Connor knows what's going on in Red Hood. None of us else do. How do we know that Jason Todd couldn't end up on the Suicide Squad at one point? Like, I'm actually here.
Because he's got Generation Next. Not X.
He's a Heavy Rain style game that's Gotham Central.
Oh, you just making F to Jason jokes. X to Jason. No, that's because of a joke in another comic this week.
Jason. That's
the name, right? Of the kid that he did. Yeah. I've seen those clips.
Yeah.
Jason. Although they kind of replaced that a couple years ago with the You God of War, where he's like, boy.
Even I know those.
Yeah. Is that bit where you lose him in the little maze area and you're just shouting his name out constantly, looking for him? Boy.
Except one of those games is much better than the other.
Obviously, yes. No, I agree with that. Heavy Rain does not hold up.
And also, more importantly, in one of those games, that's not the entire game.
Yes, that's true. That's also true.
So wait, what's the point of Heavy Rain? Let's go on a sidetrack.
It's a detective story with multiple outcomes. You have to do the detective work.
Yeah, but you play multiple characters. You play a detective. You play a couple of different characters who might be related to the case. You're playing out.
I think 7.
Yeah, you're playing out kind of set scenarios though, where you do have some choices, but they're kind of limited. It's not as free as they let you pretend it is. So it's more of a. It's more like a choose your own adventure where the choices don't really matter that much.
You ever play Monkey Island? That's kind of like what Monkey Island is.
I can kind of see that comparison. It's full of plot holes though. I actually think see when I played it the first time, I got to a certain point and I realized something. I'm like, wait a minute, this is bullshit.
I enjoyed it well enough. I'd never want to play it again.
I like the start of it when the atmosphere's just getting going. It was the same in the previous game with the same guy, Fahrenheit 911. No, that's a documentary. It was Fahrenheit. Yeah. It was just Fahrenheit. It's just Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy.
David Cage games.
Yeah. Like that started off really cool, but the plot went into insane places after the first hour, and it just became stupid. I felt that way about all the games I've tried of his.
It's just Fahrenheit.
Just Fahrenheit. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And every game he puts out looks the like Detroit Become Human was last year, 2018.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yep, it's a David Cage game.
Anyways,
2,000-page script. Murder something with that.
It's because there's all these branching though. You have all these different possibilities.
No, I understand that, but I think 2,000 pages, right? And if one of those is a minute, as they tell you in film school, try to write each one a minute. Like that's a lot.
2,000 minutes, you might say. All right, let's rate Suicide Squad, shall we? I think we've gushed about it. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
Connor?
I was going to give it an 8.5, but looking through it again at the art and the colours, I'm going to bump up to a 9.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 9. 9 out of 10 for me. Taylor has not faulted me yet, so that'll take us out to the last new book of the week, which I think is just Connor. So make this snappy, Connor, will you?
Yeah, we'll do.
Dial H for Hero number 11. Sam Humphries writing with Joe Quinones on the art.
Yeah, so a complete shift in perspective for this issue. So all the others have been, not exclusively, but majority have been from Miguel's point of view, with some of their, and occasionally some scenes are hers perspective, but this issue is mostly hers. So we get like some flashbacks, tons of different art styles again here. We get some flashbacks of her with her dad, and her dad was in prison, and we didn't really know what exactly had gone on. Her dad was like, he was a pharmacist, and he lived in like a really small town. So but then stuff went wrong. The economy tanked. The drug prices went up, and even people who had prescriptions couldn't really afford them. So he would like steal drugs and give them away to the people who needed them. But then he got a bit greedy and started stealing some other drugs and started selling them, and got caught, which is why he went to prison. So that kind of gives you a lot of perspective here of what the issue is here for Summer, is that her dad wasn't a villain. He was trying to do the right thing. He just I think as she calls it, he lost his North Star. He just lost his way a little bit and kind of got a bit too caught up in the moment. But he wasn't a bad guy. Because that's what she feels about Miguel in this issue. Because Miguel is working with the operator, the evil one. It's the operator. And no, the operator's the good one. What's the bad one? Oh, I'll get to it in a minute. It's bugging me. But either way, he's off working with him, and he's split into 4. He's the 4 Supermen. We're still doing Reign of the Supermen stuff, and he's on Apocalypse, fighting, Calabac and Granny Goodness, trying to get the K-Dial, and and we're seeing all this kind of through a flashback. And it turns out that the Granny Goodness is telling the story here to Summer, because she gave him the K-Dial, because she's like, yeah, we don't care. Sure, we had it, but every time anyone tried to use it, they would just vanish. They'd never come back, and we didn't want to deal with that. So sure, take it. And then we get an interesting page where this book's been doing a lot of these gimmicks where they'll do stuff. This is a cut along the lines and cut out this page and build your own K-Dial, and it's you fold all the flaps together. I hope someone did it, because it looks like it would work. I hope someone cut up their comic and made this, because I love this comic, and maybe this is sacrilegious to some people suggesting this. Don't immediately bag and board it, but yeah, cut it up, make the comic, make the phone. Why not? It looks cool. It's clearly what they want. There's
Connor says, cut up your comic.
Yeah, I mean this particular one. I haven't got this in physical yet. I'm fairly sure there's probably an ad on the back of this page that will let you get away with it, because there's very little other story on this page in particular. So yeah, go for it. Why not? Mr. Thunderbolt, that's the evil one that Miguel's working with. But yeah, Summer comes back to the Heroverse with the operator, and she's still got the C-Dial, but they've got the other 3 now. And operator's like, it doesn't matter, but we're in deep shikamagie. He's really thinking about it. But yeah, this is their whole plan. Is they want to turn everyone, 2.8 quadrillion people into superheroes all at once. And it's and it's like, could you we saw a version of this when everyone in Metropolis got powers, and it was chaos. So it's like, can you imagine how bad it's going to be? And it's still all like, no, I don't want to just take out Miguel. He's just lost sight of his North Star. We can bring him back. And they show up, and she uses the dial and becomes Lolo Kick You. And there's a bit of a fight sequence. She's like, "Wait, hang on! I thought there was 4 of you." And then the steel one just shows up behind her, smashed through a truck that she was supposed to escape in. And there's a lot of trying to talk him down, like, "Hey, look, let's just go get falafel in Metropolis. It's cool." But obviously, that doesn't go down so well. And there is a fight, and they take the dial. They take the C dial, and they go back with Mr. Thunderbolt. And okay, he's like, "Here you go. Here's the yellow dial. Use it, and you'll go back to your original self because job's done." Because the Y dial again, that's the one that split them into 4. So they use it, and he returns into 2 people because there was 4 of them, so they go back to 4. We get Super Miguel and Thunder Montez, but it's Superman Red and Blue. That's what we're doing here now.
Fair enough.
And so it's the blue one is good Super Miguel, and he's trying to use the Y dial again. He's like, "Okay, sure, okay, that made us into 2, so we'll do it once more, and that'll bring us back to 1." And it doesn't work. And he's like, "Well, what's going on?" And Mr. Thunderbolt explains that this is why him and the operator will never be just one Robbie Reed again, because it only works. The reverse version of it only works if both people's hearts want it to. And and the red one's like, "No, I don't want to be stuck with that dumbass. This is terrible. I'm not doing that." So they trap Miguel and Summer in the K-hole, which is in the cave. When they bring it, the Eternal Oblivion K-hole, and they're just stuck in there, and it looks fantastic. Everything's kind of gray tones. It's gorgeous. Like there's like black lightning going through it. Looks great.
Black Lightning, how did he get there?
Do you know what? As soon as I said that, I was like, brush past it before anyone has a chance.
Nope.
But no. The final scene then is we cut back to the Thunderbolt Club, and they've got all 4 dials, and he's like, "All right then, ring the magic number," which is of course 52. Because what else would it be?
69. DC.
Yeah.
If the porn community ever wants to do a porn parody of the series 52, then that's the number.
I'm not saying anything.
Just call it 69.
Matt definitely hasn't searched for that before.
And then the new 69 will be the reboot.
But either way, Mr. Thunderbolt vanishes after using all 4 of the dials, and we cut around. We see like the monitor in the Oreo worlds being like, "Breach alert! What's going on?" We see Bart running, and "Hey, something's wrong with the Speed Force. It feels like she's been ripped down the middle." Darkseid, impossible, the sphere of the gods, through the source fall, all the way into, and then the final page is the Overvoid, and this is the multiverse H dial, and it's Mr. Thunderbolt. Time to reboot all of history and every reality in his image, in the image of Mr. Thunderbolt. And then next issue, dial F for final issue, that's why I said F earlier instead of X, because I was thinking of F for respects.
Right.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Why is it F for respects? I know
it's
of
a
this.
Reddit thing, isn't it?
I think it's older than that.
Because
you do see it a lot on Reddit. You'll just see threads of people saying
F.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I know what it means, but I just don't know where it comes from.
No, I know. I had first seen it.
I don't know where it comes from.
Know your meme. Hold on, I'm gonna find this out.
Yeah.
Y'all talk about your Patreon books now, and I'll look this up.
All right.
No, but I just to rate this very quickly. Art again, fantastic. Some of the best of the book. One of the strongest issues, and that's saying something. It's just like an 8.5. Yeah, this is great.
All right.
All right. So press F to pay respects. It comes from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which was an action prompt featured in a QuickTime event. So I guess if someone died, you could press F or X to pay respects.
Who's playing audio back?
No. That's probably outside or something.
Okay.
I mean, I've got music playing through my headphones, but I have had the whole show. Why?
It sounds like someone's doing work outside. Yeah. That's a saw.
I actually think it's maybe Connor's music for some reason that's sneaking in.
Still going?
It was there a second ago. Stop now. It wasn't like I couldn't tell what it was. It just sounded like faint music or like TV audio in the distance. I thought it might make it like a pop-up or something playing audio. It's gone now. I mean, it's just.
No, I'm telling you, there's a saw going on outside. If you want, I'll close my window.
No, it wasn't. Maybe it was a saw. Maybe that's what was coming across us. It's fine. I think we're good now. It was very faint, but I heard it. Anyway.
So I also I was reading as Connor was talking about Heavy Rain. That game is heavy as hell.
Oh yeah.
Why would you want to play that?
I got a super dark ending when I played the first time.
Of course you did.
I got the one out in the cabin in the like the trailer.
Mine's actually ended up being quite good because I saved the kid, but it was this tragic ending where the police gunned me down thinking that I was the killer. But the kid got to survive, so it wasn't the darkest ending.
Oh, that's such a David Cage ending.
That's such a Pete ending too. No, I'm trying to do good.
All right.
25 alive. Did either of you play Firewatch? Because that's another one that just came out.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah. Should I play Firewatch?
Sure.
Are there any Bigfoots in Firewatch?
Oh, no.
Shit.
I mean, it's a good little game for a few hours if you pick it up on sale.
Cool. I'll keep an eye out for it.
I had something stuck in my tooth all day, and I just got it. I've been trying all through this podcast. All through this podcast, my tongue.
Did they sell floss where you were?
Yeah, toothpicks.
I don't have any floss in the house, no. But
Pete's going out with a bag and board from the shop.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been there like at work where there's no floss. I've got something there. It's like, right, okay, a bit of like, a foil packet of crisps or something, or like, quick rip it open. I'm getting this out.
No, I've been trying to get it with my tongue like all show, and it just came out. So I'm celebrating. Thank you, everyone. It's a great moment.
Good job.
All right, so that'll take us on to the Patreon books. So just to explain this, every month we have there's basically a possibility of 4 books each from me and Connor. Sometimes they're shared, sometimes they're not, depending on our patrons. It is for one of us to read a book of your choosing. There's a limited number of slots because we can't obviously add tons of these. But at the $30 tier, you can make one of us read a book. So the first Patreon book here, so again, this is patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to make us do this kind of thing, is Red Hood Outlaw 40, which is Connor's ongoing book that David makes him read. However...
It's been going since like issue 6, I stopped. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Because I stupidly, if you go back to the start of the show, stupidly said, I'll see the first arc out. I regretted that immediately.
Yes.
And here we are, 30-something issues later.
Yeah, so here's the thing though, there's a bit of a caveat with this one. So I do live streams a couple of times a week on the YouTube page, and there's a tip menu, and mostly it's these little tips for various things. We play screenshot games, whatever. But there's some big things. The idea being that you don't have to be a patron to, like, say, buy a comic review or a movie review or something if you do want to spend the higher amount. David, the same person who makes Connor read Red Hood, bought a comic review. And I said, oh, what do you want me to do? And do you want it to be a part of the podcast, or do you want it to be, just a separate standalone thing, or whatever, part of the stream, whatever? And he just responded with, next time Connor's reading Red Hood, you do it too. So I have read issue 40 of Red Hood Outlaw with no context whatsoever.
The last thing Pete read was issue 1 or Rebirth, whatever it is.
Rebirth 1 issue? Rebirth 1 probably was probably the issue that I read last.
And I have yabbered on about every other issue since, which Pete never listens to.
No.
Understandably, I wouldn't listen either.
I just love the no.
I am dying to know Pete's concept of what this book is and trying to explain.
I didn't. So Red Hood...
I will say, surprisingly, this issue is half of a recap issue. Like, a lot of it is recapping where we are. So it's kind of a good jumping on issue for Pete in that sense.
I mean, it was part 4 of an arc, so I'm not sure if I agree with that necessarily, but...
I will explain why.
So, the Red Hood's babysitting a bunch of supervillain kids that Lex wants him to look after or something, and one of them is like a baby who's the actual villain but has like a dead reanimated robotic mother that it controls to move it around.
Yeah, it's mother, which is like a mummy, like Egyptian style in bandages.
And there's like a rocky sort of one, and by rocky I mean craggy, sharp rock edges and stuff.
Not a boxer from Philadelphia.
He's referring to the classic Lobdell creation, Doomed.
Is that doomed?
That's doomed. To be fair,
Let's open my mouth a little bit.
It's something I give a lot of comic shit for when they don't do it. The very first issue of this page is them all in a car, and it does have their names next to each other. I don't expect Peter to know them all by now because I don't either.
Yeah,
but
the very first issue of this page, yes, well put.
Right, very first page of this issue. Clearly. God damn it.
Also, this still has the Year of the Villain banner on top, so this is an extended Year of the Villain tie-in. It's not just the 1 month like a lot of the other books.
This was a couple of months ago, don't forget.
Oh, that's true, yeah, you're right. I was thinking this is this month. So this is like 2 months behind, you're right.
Yeah. I think we're on 42 or 43 now.
Yeah, that's fine. So, Devour's got a weird robotic jaw.
David does this?
Yeah.
David, maybe.
David the sadist.
I know. He's the worst. They've got like an Uber driver or something. So they're breaking into wherever Dr. Veritas is.
Star, Cadmus.
I don't think it's any of those right now because she's working in the center of the Earth.
Yeah, the Block, a research and a development complex located in the center of the Earth. Well, the center. I didn't even read that the first time I read this.
Yeah. Oh,
center of the Earth.
No, there's how many caption books? There's the one underneath it as well.
Yeah, currently home of Generation Outlaw. What is Generation Outlaw?
It's Lobdell redoing his X-Men book. This is Generation Outlaw. This group, him teaching the kids.
Uh-huh.
I told you he's redoing his 90s X-Men book.
I'm gonna look for pages of these real quick. There's a. Oh my god! No, they are.
Yeah, the first three.
That dude's like devours like Chamber.
Yep.
Yeah. The first 3 pages should be the preview pages in Comixology if you want to look at them, Matt.
And I only know about this other book.
I was looking for.
A patron made me read a few issues a few months back. Some of you might recall.
Yes, I recall this.
It was not fun, but it gave me context for just how stupid this is now.
Yeah. And there's lots of Dr. Veritas clones or something.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, going around. No, hold on. I mean, this is the thing. Like, as much as you're saying it's a good jumping on point, I actually kind of, even despite the fact that there's a lot of stuff thrown at me here, I don't really feel like much happens in this issue.
No, it doesn't. And that's why I say it feels like a nice jumping on point, theoretically, because it actually spends a lot of time explaining, like, what this issue is. Like, okay, no, this is Generation Outlaw. These are these characters. This is a team that Alex is making me look after. This is all stuff that was actually introduced like 3-4 issues ago that hasn't been over every issue since. You know, they've just been doing stuff, and this issue, it doesn't advance anything. It takes the time to stop and re-explain all of that. So I mean, it's really bad in the sense of it as an ongoing issue because there's nothing new, but in terms of, hey, this is your first issue,
well, it's bad for review's sake because there's not a whole lot to talk about, really.
Oh, I know. I think it's,
you think he cares about that?
I think it's interesting. It seems like, you know, this. Okay, he was told, hey, this is a Year of the Villain tie-in. People might read this when they don't normally.
Yeah, there's like,
and he's gone out of his way to actually try and make it friendly for them.
Right, there's Wendy, who uses her wind powers at one point. That's not her name. I'm not going to learn her name. But
I don't remember her name.
She's got wind powers.
I just saw on that first page preview, looking through Comixology, DNA Strand, who as well, DNA.
Mm-hmm.
That's some of the primary. Also, why on the cover does Bizarro have a beard?
He has a beard now.
Because he has a beard, yes.
Okay.
Because the end of the issue is basically Veritas has Bizarro and Artemis in a room. They're back from whatever dimension they were lost in, and you know, basically he's like, "Oh, I'm happy to see you guys. You're kind of like my family now." And Bizarro super claps him away, and it's like, "Oh shit, they're hostile." And end of issue. Says next time, Outlaws versus Outlaws.
Yeah, and as much as I despise this, but the actual core design of Bizarro here in the tank top with the backwards S and the beard, I like the design aesthetically.
He looks like Zangief.
But that not mean I'm a bad guy.
He looks like Zangief from Street Fighter. With the
See,
beard
like
and the
it's a
mohawk.
problem. Zangief was dope. You know how he got that scar on his chest, Pete?
Did he get that star on his chest? Matt.
He wrestled bears. Alright? Zangief rules.
Hey, I'm not dissing Zangief. He has the only good line in the entire Street Fighter movie, okay?
I don't remember that.
It's when they're all in the room, villains and good guys united, and they're watching the security camera. And the building they're in, there's this truck coming towards them filled with explosives, and Zangief yells out, "Quick, change the channel!" That's a good line.
Is it the Van Damme version?
Yeah, it's a Van Damme movie.
Do I need to watch this with adult eyes?
I don't know if I would say that, Matt, but
anyways.
Just before we actually go, I do think we should mention David Messina on this issue. I don't think we actually said that.
Oh, we didn't know.
Not Pete Woods, who has been doing a recent handful.
Although Raul Julia as Bison is pretty enjoyable, if I remember right.
I've seen supercuts on YouTube. Oh, yeah.
The art in this issue is actually fine. It's not the best that this book's had, but I have very little to complain about. I don't know what Pete feels about the art.
No, it was fine. Honestly, my only problem from a visual standpoint, really, outside of maybe designs, because I actually kind of like the big metal jaw thing that one character has. I thought it was kind of funny. Kind of cyberpunky, steampunky. Like,
that's Devour.
It made me think of Tetsuo the Iron Man in this weird body modification kind of sense, but which has nothing to do with Marvel's Iron Man, for the record. It's a Japanese movie from 1989. Go watch a movie, plebs. So
don't tell me what to do.
The Wind Girl.
I watched 4 movies in January. Thank you.
Anyway, the visual thing that I don't like is not actually anything to do with the art. I hate Red Hood's narration boxes. I hate that the background colors this grey. And the red symbol. I just think it looks ugly. It's just an ugly design. I don't know.
Yeah, it just needs to be a solid black, really, doesn't it?
It does. It just looks kind of murky and unappealing.
It's supposed to be like a gunmetal grey, I think, but just a plain black. The rounded boxes are fine. The red outline is fine. The font is fine. It's the gunmetal grey that's not working.
Is it just me, or does Red Hood's new design, apart from the fact there's a lot of red in it, remind you more of like Phantasm from Mask of Phantasm?
I can see it. Phantasm meets Scorpion.
Yeah, a bit of Scorpion, but with the red of, obviously, because that's his colour. But
yeah,
you take those two, add red, boom, now you got your new Red Hood design. Get over here! You should say that. You should say that every issue.
That would make this book so much better if he did. Honestly, this is like far from the worst issue of this book because it's so inoffensively recappy.
Yeah, not much happens. Honestly, some of the side characters were mildly interesting. Not enough that I want to read any more of it, obviously. But, Red Hood's just a dull character in the middle of it all.
He is. He's just there.
So I can't get behind that too much. But, hey, on you go, read it.
I think this is a 4. Not because it's not the worst issue by far, but it's completely pointless and advances very little outside of like you could cut this issue down to like 3 pages if you were reading this in an ongoing and lose nothing. For Pete's sake, it's more helpful in that context, and the art's perfectly fine. Nothing amazing, but I've got nothing to complain about at all with the art.
Yeah, I'd give it a 5. I think it's like nothing about it motivates me to want to read any more of it, but nothing about it is particularly terrible either. A little heavy on some of the caption boxes, and
Yeah. But I do have like the tiniest bit of respect for Lobdell in that they told him, hey, this is a tie-in issue to Year of the Villain. People might read this who are reading all the Year of the Villain stuff, those terrible, poor people. But there are definitely those people out there who aren't reading this book who will read everything that has that banner on it. And if this is their first issue, at least he tried to make it accessible for them.
See, if they want to give him like a character that you can just redo Happy Death Day with, I'll happily read that, Lobdell. Since you proved that you could write that story already.
Just that one story over and over again.
That was in my top 50 movies of the decade.
Of course it was.
Hey, that series isn't all out yet, man. No spoilers.
That was early, though. It's fine. That one is out.
Okay.
That's the sheet right there. Hold on. Wait.
He did it on pen and paper.
He's not the only one. In fact, honestly, I think me and you're the only ones who didn't do it in pen and paper.
Really?
Yeah, Tim and Tara both had pens and paper.
Here it is.
I can't comprehend it.
That's how I worked. Leave me alone. Yeah, that was in the first one.
You boomers.
All right, last book. I got
one. Do this, Pete.
One last Patreon book here. American Vampire issue 3. Scott Snyder writing, Rafael Albuquerque on the art. At least in the main story. I'll tell you about the other story when we get there. So Pearl makes a roommate. Had to leave because things are getting dangerous, and she's going to go after the people who did this, and she's like, sorry for the mess, and you just see Hattie's reaction to this room full of blood from her killing the previous dude. The vampires decide to basically like send two of their lackeys, the other vampires, the actors, on a mission, and they're not very happy about what's going on, of course. But Pearl rides up alongside them in the car on a motorbike and pulls them out into the sunlight and rips open the roof. She actually rips off the dude, because there's two of them, there's a guy and a woman. The guy's face gets ripped off, and we actually see his face afterwards, and he's just missing the top half of his face, like his skin, and it is actually really brutal. And then she has a fight with the woman, who's actually kind of suffering because they're in daylight, and she's struggling. And she kills her on a cactus, because the prickles on a cactus are actually mostly wood. Most people don't know that. So I learned something from this book. There you go. That's fun. But it does set up a new thing mythology-wise, because she goes to Henry, the guy she was kind of flirting with in the first issue, who lives on a little boat, and she wants to stay there with him. She tells him what's going on. He doesn't really believe her. It's all very, hard to get a grasp of. But one of the things we do learn here is that one of the weaknesses that Skinner has, and now she has as an American vampire, is that when there's no moon at all, so the opposite of a full moon, which is not an eclipse, but you know what I mean.
A new moon?
I guess a new moon. Yeah. So on that night, or maybe 2 or 3 nights, when it's at its like most disappeared, they're weak because she feels really kind of lightheaded and she goes to sleep. So we do have like a weakness time for them now. So it's only a specific time per month. Think of it as reverse werewolf, I suppose, in a weird way. But the bad vampires who run the movie studio have kidnapped her roommate Hattie, and they tell her to come meet them. And she's like, okay, I'm going to have to do it. And Henry tries to come with her, but she speeds off in his car without him. And that's when we get our to be continued. So the main story's solid. Again, I think, it really... It's felt like a really progressive story. It's very serialized, and that each new chapter feels like it opens up the world more. The first issue was just like the horror of the end of, because the ending of the first issue is, here's this vampire, she's doomed. And the second issue is, oh, she's becoming a vampire. This third issue is she's got something to fight and she's going after them. But then they've amped up the ante at the end with the cliffhanger. So it's got a really nice progression throughout the issues. Albuquerque's art's fantastic, of course. The gore, like I said, the ripping off the face is beautiful stuff if you're into that kind of thing. So no,
I forget, you've read all these before, right? It's just been a while.
Yeah. I've read all the first cycle at least.
Right. So then that they start dropping in some mythologies later.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny that you brought up the werewolves and stuff.
It's funny, Snyder, when he was talking about the new event and stuff, and that being the capper of his DC work, he did say he wanted to get back to American Vampire and other non-superhero stuff after. That's his plan.
Wouldn't that be nice? Hell, I'll even read the new issues in the show when they came out.
Me too.
I'll do it.
Oh, you imagine they'd be through... Vertigo's not an imprint anymore.
Black Label. They'll be Black Label now.
They'll just be Black Label.
You think they're Black Label? You don't think they'd Hell House it because it's horror themed?
No, because then he has to let...
Yeah,
they'll have some sort of.
They'll just
Black Label it.
If anything, I can totally see them.
Just call his friend Stephen King, who wrote the first backup.
No, I know.
Here's the thing, Matt. I could totally see them giving Snyder his own little Hill House for Black Label.
Yeah.
And American Vampires relaunch will be like the headliner of that, but there'll be like 3 other books by others.
I want like another Severed book, please.
Yeah, I can.
Should I read Severed?
Yeah. It's 6 issues and it's great.
I've got it in Comixology and I've still not read past the first issue. It was good though. The first issue I read was great, but I haven't read the rest of it.
I have the trade. I read it all in one sitting, one night, and it's fantastic.
So here's the thing. I could totally see them doing that, giving him like a Hill House thing where he gets 4 or 5 books. He'll write 2 of them. One will be American Vampire, and then he'll give a horror book to someone. Like I could see them totally doing that actually.
That makes sense to really do that as well. While Hill House is in the off season, right? Because we've not got anything announced after this first couple, because they're not announcing any until they're all done. So they're kind of we're going to have this period of months without any. That's where you throw in Snyder's one in future.
I think that's a really cool idea. Maybe he'll go to AMH and he's not interested in doing it at DC. But if he wants to do American Vampire, he has to do that at DC in some capacity, I think. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think he's got a problem with that, given how good a relationship he obviously has with the company as a whole.
Absolutely. So. I imagine they would treat it as like a proper relaunch. I mean, I'm like it'll be like a reboot, but they'll treat it as like new reader friendly. I think.
They did that with Second Cycle, and then it wasn't consistent enough,
and that didn't last that long.
But they'll give it a new number one, and
yeah, they will. So the backup story, of course, because this first arc has a backup story, which actually makes each issue essentially each issue 2 issues almost, because it's like 35 pages, so it's almost, I think it's an even split between the stories. It's not like 20 and then like 15. Yeah. It's like 18 and 17 or whatever. So the author, so this is obviously Stephen King writing. Albuquerque's still on the art, and it's the author telling the story, continuing the story of Skinner's Suite. And we ended the last backup with Skinner kind of coming out the grave and coming towards the town, and this is him like coming towards this town, and it's been 30 years of him in a in this coffin at the bottom of the lake or whatever it is, and he like sees like a sign that says, the wonder of the telephone, because this is 1909, so it's just the start of some of these things like being a thing. So you have to go to the drugstore to use the telephone because not everyone has one yet. No one has one yet. He says something racist about how the mayor of this town is Mexican. Something to do with tacos, he says. I won't repeat it just in case it's actually like a proper thing that people say. But he sees like a candy store, and he breaks in, and he's butt-ass naked, and the owner comes in and tries to shoot him, and he kills him. He runs at him all vampire faced. And one of my favorite things here is at the end of this page, he's sitting with like the dead guy like propped up around him as if he's got his arm around his shoulder, and Skinner's like sort of like snuggling into him as the guy's got blood just like dripping from his dead face. It's really brutal horror stuff, really nice. For what you do, some cops try to arrest him the next morning, and he like swipes off the dude's arm. More great gore, more of what you want in this book. He essentially just decimates this entire town. There's like heads hanging from like, the clothesline, and just body parts all over the ground, and he the European vampires who are now aware of him are like sort of starting to shit themselves, and like, we can make a deal, or we can let's go get the cop who put him away in the first place. Let's go get a book in that. Which is we cut to him, and the writer comes along with him. They're going to come after him, but Skinner like blows up the town from the munitions factory, and really dark stuff. He puts a stick of dynamite in someone's pocket, and we see the guy's top half of his body just go splat. It is beautiful stuff. If you're a fan of like gore and body horror, this series is actually really fun for that stuff. There's a lot of it in this issue, and Skinner Suite
Albuquerque's good at that.
Yeah, and Skinner Suite is such a bastard. Like, he's not a likable character. He's fun to watch or read about, but he's not likable. And it's good to remember that when you're getting the bits with Pearl, where he seems like he's kind of being friendly. It's good to remember that he's actually a complete dirtbag. So the book ends with Skinner's old buddies sort of kind of being scared because Skinner's went back to their hideout where all the money's been stored from the robberies, and it's all gone because they thought he was dead, so they used it. Like, why would they leave it for him? And that's where the cliffhanger is. So no, good stuff. I think the backup is actually getting better as it goes, because it's becoming just more a straight story about Skinner Suite, as opposed to the cutting back and forth with the other characters that it was doing before. And just as this great discovery of just how brutal he is, and like him being the fish out of water, but it doesn't matter because he's just so powerful that he just starts killing everyone anyway. It's just really fun stuff, and the art, of course, is great. Albuquerque's good throughout. Great stuff. So that is American Vampire issue 3. So delightful. And that will take us to the end of the books, and take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favourite panel / moment of the week, favourite cover, favourite art, and top 5 books. I only read 4 books, and I didn't really like most of them, so this will be an interesting list for me. But Matt, what was your panel / moment of the week?
Do I just go with it? Oh, no, it'll be from Justice League Dark. I'll leave the one to Connor.
I'm not playing Justice League Dark, so you're good.
You're not?
No, I know what I've got.
Yeah. All right, then I'll use the where it's the Fate making the Pinnacle, and you have the 3 versions of Diana, and all the other Justice League Dark members there. It's real cool. It's a good page.
Great layout more than anything.
Yep.
Car?
I'm actually going from Suicide Squad. It's where the title of Suicide Squad comes up. It's like 3 pages in, and it's all, it's half a page saying Suicide Squad, but it's not just the title. That's the panel layout for what's going on behind it, which is the the bullet going through his head, the brain splatting out the back, and it's all black text with the red silhouette of the guy. Love it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, mine's is definitely coming from Suicide Squad because nothing else even registered for me this week. I think it will probably be the shush from the end, just because that's the moment where you sort of, it all comes together and it hits you what's been going on in the story and what that opening was. Yeah, it's just a good culmination moment. And I think Deadshot's face really sells it. Like Deadshot's reaction to it makes it really exciting. So that's my pick. All right, cover of the week then. I'll just jump in here straight away. I like the Flash variant quite a bit.
Is it the Win one?
The Win one, yeah. It's really nice watercolor looking cover. I think that I actually have to just go simple here and go with the main Suicide Squad cover with the circles, the spiral, and everyone kind of around it.
Damn it, you took mine.
Sorry. Sorry, Matt. Matt, what's yours? Are you keeping
Suicide Squad?
Keeping the same? Yeah. Cool. Connor?
I do like that cover, but I am actually going to go with the Justice League Dark variant. I really like it. It's kind of gritty and scratchy, and it really works for those characters.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just going to have a look at it. Actually, I've not seen it. I'm just going to have a quick peek. Yeah, it's quite a nice cover, actually. I do really like that cover. That's cool. All right, best art of the week, Connor.
For me, it comes down to two. I suspect everyone else, there's only one option. But yeah. I do have Dial H for Hero as a really strong contender. And I'm going to pick that just because you guys are both going to represent the other choice. So I'll go with Quinones from Dial H.
Yeah, Suicide Squad, Matt.
Yeah, Suicide Squad.
Yeah, easy peasy. Easy. All right, Matt, top 5 of the week, go. 1
Suicide Squad, 2 Justice League Dark, 3 Justice League, 4 Flash, 5 Action.
Whoa. What a week. Connor.
Yeah. Number 1 is Suicide Squad. 2 is Justice League Dark. 3 is Dial H. 4 is Justice League. And then I suppose Flash. To be honest, though, I'm positive on 4 out of my 5, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, my number 1 is Suicide Squad. I'm good. I'm good to stop in there.
Well, you don't let me.
That's true. Okay, number 2 out of the 4 I read. So number 2 would be what? Justice League. Number 3 would be Flash. Number 4 would be Action Comics. But I mean,
yeah, we light up.
I mean, at least Justice League was a 6. That's in the upper
yeah,
echelon.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, like. It was a rough week, okay? It was a rough week. So hopefully next week's better, and I'll tell you what's coming next week right now. So we got Batman issue 88. We got Daphne Byrne issue 2. The anthology for Valentine's Day is out next week, DC Crimes of Passion, which I don't think I ever was going to read, but it is coming out.
I might read it just based off the fact there's a Tynion story, so I might just read that.
Okay. So you know it's a $10 80-page thing, right?
Yeah, no, I might just read the story at the shop. It will be fine.
Okay, all right. Just check it.
My shop says it's not a library, but if you read it quick, they're gonna catch you. I'm a fast reader.
So, yeah, that's coming out. Dreaming 18's out. Genlock 7 is out. Harley Quinn 70
out of 7
is out. So that's getting up there. Joker Harley Criminal Sanity issue 3. That's pretty cool. That's exciting. Justice League 40 is there next week with Vendetta.
Weird.
So that's the thing. Justice League Odyssey 18. Lois Lane number 8. Martian Manhunter issue 12. And Young Justice issue 13 are the books that are out next week. There's not actually that many that I think we're doing.
6, I think, between us. Batman, Daphne Byrne. Then we're down to Joker Harley, Justice League, Lois, and Young Justice, right?
Yep.
So all right, 6 between all of us.
Okay, in that case, we'll probably ask for some more questions next week, so gear them up, people.
They wasted all of them this week.
Also, this time next week, I would have written Rise of the Resistance, so I'll report on that.
Okay.
When we do.
Yeah, so there'll be more questions for next week, guys. We'll be asking on Twitter, and again, mftvquestions@gmail.com. is worth looking at. Also,
it scares me now seeing such a quiet week there, because I'm like, oh god, they're all going to stack up again.
I know. The concern is that the other half of the book. This ended up in quite a long show because we tangented a lot in this one, but next week we'll have some more questions again. But yeah, so thank you very much for joining us. One thing that I'm going to start doing actually with the $10 patrons, they get kind of like sort of mailed sponsorship sort of values, is that the name's going to appear on the screen at some point for the video version. But of course, one of the things that I do for the Patreon producers is to actually give them a shout out at the end of the show. So I'm going to thank our Patreon producers for the month. Thank you to David Short, even though he made me Red Hood, the bastard. Now
you know how I feel every month for the last 3 years.
Thank you to Alison and Fordice. Fordyce. I said it wrong. I went back to the old way I used to say it. Cynthia Palacios, Tyler Hess. Thank you to you guys. Tyler makes me read American Vampire for the record, just in case you're curious. So they're all $20 and up patrons on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your troublesome outtakes. The wrestling talks that me and Matt do are part of that, just for the $1. Plus some bonus episodes of some of our movie shows.
Trumpets while they did that this time.
Yeah, very good. The $5 tiers may be worth...
Never been more British.
Let me finish my goddamn Patreon plug, you bastards. The $5 tier is worth mentioning because the $5 tier gets you a day's early access to this podcast as well as previously in the Multiverse, and gives you voting rights whenever there's a vote for the other show. In fact, we just had a vote for previously in the Multiverse for the 6th book that we're going to cover over the next little while, and the winner of that, which I'll announce on this episode here, was Superman Emperor Joker, which is about 9 issues long. Nice. So that'll be over the next 9 episodes of Previously in the Multiverse.
I think you have to think about how much.
Well, no, because I was going to say how many months that was. I thought I'll just say 9 episodes. It's easier. 4.5 months, but yes. So, but we are actually considering having a similar vote for Elsewhere when that starts, which should be late February. Maybe early March, but we kind of mapped it out recently. We're
thinking there'll maybe be a Marvel book, some Image books, just anything else that's not DC really.
But we're looking at having 1 or 2 sort of ongoing things like previously on that show that are kind of running, sort of just us working
along
through
with
it.
The new releases.
So one of them will probably be a vote to give the $5 patrons more things to vote for, and we might even add a second and voted for one on the DC show as well, if we feel that we're coping fine with reading that number of books extra per week. But that is the plan. So yeah, Superman Emperor Joker won that vote, so thank you to everyone who voted. There was a couple of new patrons that voted on that actually, so thank you to you guys. So yeah, you can support us on Patreon financially, of course, but you can also support us in other ways. You can rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. More people will find us that way. Make sure you tell us about what you thought of the books this week and all the various news and whatever we talked about in the comments on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All these things do help, as does, of course, just sharing us out on social media or, message boards, Reddit, wherever you populate with other comic book fans, and do all that stuff. But that is us. That is the show. That has been episode 192. Thank you very much for joining us. Check out other content we have, of course, if you're interested in movies. We do a lot of movie review shows. There's the Screams podcast, which is the horror movie podcast.
And next week there will be a Birds of Prey review.
Next week there'll be Birds of Prey, which will be under the 121 Influx banner, but I'll probably, as I've done with previous DC movies, I'll put that out in the comics feed as well for you guys. So you can get that, but that'll be on YouTube as well. So thank you very much for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
I forgot my gimmick.